Hello everyone, I'm Raven from Raven Comics, and today we'll dive into the complete story of Future's End. This video covers all the Future's End comics from the New 52 and some Batman Beyond issues from the New 52 as well. I had previously uploaded it in parts, but today you'll get everything in one single video. It all begins in Central City, 35 years in the future. A lot has happened, and the images will show us strange and confusing things. But don't worry, these mysteries will be gradually resolved. The city is under attack, and the rogues are in a safe room with a few citizens. An elderly Barry Allen arrives and says he's very tired. He's been running all night, and outside, there are only a few creatures. Unfortunately, he couldn't find anyone else. The room door needs to be closed so no one can enter. Suddenly, the door is broken down. The idea that no one could enter was wrong. Hawkman and Wonder Woman are here. The Eye is in command, and they have orders to eliminate these humans who have not been assimilated. Flash runs to try and stop Hawk. Meanwhile, he asks Captain Cold to save whoever he can. Unfortunately, there are too many of them, and the first one dies. Flash reaches Hawk and delivers a powerful punch. The bad news is that Wonder Woman has already cut off Captain Cold's hands, who is now starting to turn into one of them. Flash has finished with Wonder Woman, but unfortunately, more enemies arrive. Before they can harm him, someone orders them to stop, though it wasn't necessarily to help him. Frankenstein tells Flash that he was once a noble warrior, so he will give him a choice. Either he joins Brother Eye freely, or he will be destroyed right then and there. Obviously, Flash refuses. Frankenstein reveals his chest, showing that Black Canary is connected to him. Well, not all of her, just her adorable voice. Frankenstein attacks, and Flash is killed at that moment. Frankenstein was once a monster, but now he's much more. He used to be alone in this world, but now he's part of Brother Eye. He once thought his flesh was dead, that it was impure. But now he sees that all the flesh in this world is wrong and must be purged. The world must be purified. These are the last days. This is the end. In Metropolis, the Blue Beetle is with Green Lantern John Stewart. Once they get out of the sewers, they need to distract the cyborgs so Grifter and Artemis can shut down Firestorm's battery. Both come to the surface, and it seems like they can defeat their enemies. Before John continues to attack, Superman arrives from behind and blasts him with some rays. The Green Lantern was a highly valuable enemy, so they must eliminate him now. When Superman disappeared, everyone feared the worst. But this isn't Superman. He's dead. The Man of Steel begins assimilation, and John starts turning into a cyborg. It seems they've failed in their mission with Firestorm. Meanwhile, in Wayne Manor, Bruce finds only one alternative to end this world ruled by Brother Eye: a Flash-style time travel. It may be desperate, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Bruce and Mr. Terrific should never have built Brother Eye. Batman is sending the power of the security grid to the temporal device. The shields go down, and the cyborgs can't be contained. He only needs 60 seconds for the device to charge. During that time, they'll have to fight. If Batman succeeds, none of this will have happened. Batman deactivates the shields, and Cyborg enters the manor to eliminate them. These are the final acquired targets. Lethal force is permitted against these targets. It's time to fight. There are still 45 seconds left to charge. The battle continues. Unfortunately for Batman, he's shot from behind. After that, the enemy cuts off one of his arms and then stabs him in the chest. Batman falls to the ground. Terry immediately attacks the cyborgs, taking one down with a kick and using the other's blade to finish him off. Terry goes to Batman, who is lying on the ground, about to die. Bruce asks him to take the device and travel through time. Terry doesn't want to do it. He's not trained for time travel, but Bruce tells him he was trained by Batman. The fate is now in the hands of Batman of the future. He must prevent hell from coming to Earth. Whatever he does, he must not contact Bruce Wayne, because if he does, he won't believe the story. The same goes for Superman. If he gets involved, the only thing he has to do is kill a man. Terry knows what he has to do and says he'll do it. The portal opens, and Terry travels to the past. The portal closes, and Batman falls to the ground. This is his end. He always tried to make a better world. This wasn't how he expected to die. Terry travels to the past, and one of the cyborgs goes with him. But Batman manages to kill her as she falls to the ground. Terry asks the Alfred program for the coordinates, and Alfred begins to search. Bad news, it seems they've missed the target date. What they wanted to prevent is already in motion. It seems Batman set the device's date wrong. They're 7 years too late to prevent the creation of Brother Eye by Mr. Terrific. Not to mention that the temporal device only has one trip, meaning they're stuck in this place. Terry asks how Bruce could let this happen. Alfred says Bruce miscalibrated the device. Terry asks what they'll do with this piece of metal in front of them. Suddenly, the cyborg reactivates and is about to attack him. Terry dodges a blow and then attacks it. This time he'll destroy it so it can't return. While Terry is fighting the cyborg, someone is watching from a distance. From here on, Batman of the future will begin his quest to try and stop Brother Eye. Meanwhile, in New York, Jason tries to contact Ronnie, but he doesn't respond. Since he can't reach him, he decides to go to the store where his girlfriend works. Jason finds him, and we see why he wasn't answering. Ronnie asks him to leave, but Jason ignores him. They recently received a call from Green Arrow. It seemed urgent, and they need them. With no other option, they transform into Firestorm. Oliver put them in the Justice League because he trusted them. They must find Green Arrow to know what was so urgent. When they arrive at the source of the call, they find that the place is a sort of war zone. Oliver's lab is destroyed in this situation. Firestorm starts helping all the civilians trapped by the explosions. A boy who was there asks for help, as it seems someone is trapped under the rubble. The boy mentions that the explosions happened 25 minutes ago. After digging, they find Dan, who was trapped, and Jason blames Ronnie entirely. If he had just answered, they would have arrived on time, and Green Arrow wouldn't be dead. Later, at Oliver Queen's funeral, different members of the Justice League and other friends of Oliver are present for Green Arrow's burial. Mr. Terrific is also there. He has a small argument with Aquaman. It seems Terrific previously rejected being part of the Justice League. Now, he's a tycoon trying to control the world from beneath the water. Moreover, he's aware of everything happening in the world. Basically, he's someone very powerful. The only thing he says is that they're lucky he's not their enemy. Everyone is at this gathering, making them an easy target. While the two of them are having that conversation, more League members arrive. Animal Man says a few words. At first, the two couldn't stand each other, but later they became best friends. Their adventures were the best. No matter how far they traveled, he died protecting this city. His heart was always in the streets with his people. Oliver didn't have superpowers to protect him or magical weapons to shield him. Still, Green Arrow was the first into battle. He did all of that for his city and his people. Oliver Queen may have started as arrogant and conceited. It doesn't matter how you start, but how you finish. He ended with a big heart, compassion, and dignity, more than any of them will ever have. After Animal Man's moving speech, Firestorm, Arsenal, Flash, Adam Strange, and Mr. Diggle carry Oliver Queen's body for one last journey. Once they deliver the casket, Firestorm and Arsenal start arguing. Arsenal blames Firestorm for Green Arrow's death. Firestorm had told Oliver that he would always be by his side whenever needed, but they arrived late. Firestorm says they arrived late because he was busy. Arsenal knows that's a lie. They examined the data and tracked his last energy signature. Jason and Ronnie didn't merge until long after Green Arrow's call. Firestorm gets upset and asks if they're spying on him. Arsenal calls him a liar, a fraud, a phony, and above all, a coward. He didn't have the guts to keep his promise to Oliver. Diana asks them to stop and show some respect. The argument isn't over yet. Firestorm says if Arsenal says one more word about being late for Oliver, he'll finish him right then and there. Arsenal asks if he's serious and is the first to throw a punch. Firestorm quickly recovers and then punches back. But before he can throw another punch, he's stopped. Jason is upset and doesn't want to be part of this fight because he knows Ronnie is at fault. Ronnie won't let him out and leaves the place. He's also upset. He may have been late for Green Arrow, but he wasn't the one who killed him. The bad guys killed Green Arrow. He doesn't need this and doesn't need any of them. The media has just witnessed everything. Later on, we're at Lois Lane's house. She's writing her article about Oliver Queen's death. She really has no words to describe the events. However, she has a strange feeling that something isn't right. Something doesn't add up. Suddenly, someone starts knocking on her door. When she goes to investigate, she finds no one, only a package with her name. The package contains a note with an address. The note asks her to come alone and not trust anyone else. This is where the real story begins to unfold. Elsewhere, we see Grifter. He mentions that this world is a complete mess. Years ago, they had a war with their duplicates from Earth 2. Everything ended very badly. To make matters worse, several invaders from other planets remain on Earth, and he's in charge of dealing with the intruders. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Mr. Terrific is informed about the actions of the Batman from the future, as he recently infiltrated his facilities. After all, Mr. Terrific is responsible for Brother Eye, and that's why they need to start with him. Nathan asks his boss if Batman has issues with him. Mr. Terrific says Batman has issues with everyone. Nathan says this doesn't seem like the real Batman. Mr. Terrific insists that, of course it is. This one is the original, and he wants them to believe otherwise. Nathan insists, saying this Batman almost reached the top. Moreover, he has the technology to block the cameras. The original Batman doesn't have this technology. An army was guarding this building very well, so Batman had no choice but to escape. The recordings end, and Mr. Terrific leaves his building. Terrific is a global brand he built, hoping to change the world's future. Nathan will upload the image of the fake Batman to their servers and see if they can get a visual match. It's important to find him to discover who he really is and, above all, what he's planning. Later, we're in a bar. The waiter takes an order from some girls and delivers their drinks. Some guys try to intimidate them into going out with them. The waiter notices the situation and quickly kicks them out. If they set foot in this place again, they'll end up in intensive care. Lois Lane was there. The first clue from the mysterious box led her to this place. Seeing this guy in person, combined with all the background work she's done, leads her to a conclusion. Red Robin is alive. Previously, he was found dead in a battle in Paris. He was the last of the Teen Titans, but he's still alive. Let's start with Firestorm. Let's remember that in the previous chapter, Ronnie and Jason argued after Green Arrow's death. Jason wanted to separate, but Ronnie wouldn't let him. Now they've gone their separate ways. Soon, they'll be heading to a party, but before they go their own ways, they need to talk. Jason isn't feeling well. He was trapped for weeks and missed his final exams. Because of his partner, he may have lost his internship and perhaps even his education. Jason begged Ronnie to let him out, but he never listened. Essentially, he was held hostage. He had no life, no time, and hasn't been able to achieve several of his goals. Ronnie gets angry and says it's Jason's fault because if he freed them, he would have betrayed him by telling the Justice League that they were late because he was with a girl. Jason retorts that Ronnie doesn't care about anyone or anything. If they had merged in time, Green Arrow wouldn't be dead. To Ronnie, that's all lies. Since becoming Firestorm, he's had to pay a heavy price for all of them. What hurts him most is losing his mother and not being able to do anything to save her. They're both fed up with this, and Jason swears he'll never let himself be put into the Matrix again. Ronnie says that's fine. He hasn't wanted to be Firestorm for a while now. This is the end for the two of them, forever. Later, Jason is at school. Dr. Yamakase asks him where he's been all this time. They've been looking everywhere for him. Jason simply says he had a family emergency and lost his phone. The doctor needs to show him everything he missed while he was away. They've made significant progress on the project. You see, a long time ago, there was a war in which the doctor lost his wife. The same war where Ronnie lost his mother. They were trapped at the top of a building, which is why they're now working on a teleporter. The Justice League already has one, and the doctor thinks it's unfair for only them to have that technology. While Jason was gone, the doctor made great strides in the project, but now he's on the verge of an incredible discovery. What the gods kept secret is about to fall into the hands of man. Not even Mr. Terrific's technology compares to this. Meanwhile, in New York City, a group of 3 is outside Terrific Industries. Their mission is to enter the building and steal Mr. Terrific's new technology, called the U-Sphere. They need to do this before mass production begins. Coyle doesn't want to go through with it because he's not being paid enough, and the building is very well protected, basically a fortress. Plastique tells him it looks like one of those places they can get into. This job isn't as hard as they think. Coil is still unsure. Inside, hundreds of electromagnetic fields are generated. It's like entering a constantly self-reconfiguring maze. He can get them in and keep them in place. Once inside, he can disrupt the fields long enough. The real problem isn't getting in, it's getting out. Plastique tells him not to worry about that. She'll handle the escape. Nearby, Terry is without his suit. Alfred has noticed something familiar about these characters and has started a physical scan since they seem to have cyborg-like tissues. Terry isn't sure if this is good, bad, or just a coincidence. Alfred overheard them saying that having blueprints of the building's interior would make things easier. Apparently, this group is here for the same reason Terry is, to enter Mr. Terrific's building. Inside, Mr. Terrific is reviewing recordings of this new Batman. But something is off. Recently, a homeless man appeared across the street from the park the day after the new Batman was recorded. His height and body weight match suspiciously well. Because of this, Mr. Terrific will personally deal with his new friend. We then find ourselves in a bar with Lois Lane. Remember, at the end of the previous chapter, she received a letter with some codes. Based on her deductions, the letter led her here. She meets Red Robin, Tim Drake, who is supposedly dead. The boy, who is supposedly Tim Drake, denies it and says he has no idea what she's talking about. He insists he's not that person and has never had anything to do with Batman. The boy escorts her out of the bar and asks her never to return. Lois tells him they'll talk again someday. He can count on it. After she leaves, Madison asks him if it's true that he was a Titan. Supposedly, all of them died in the war. The boy just says that Lois is a reporter chasing ghosts and fake headlines. He advises her to ignore Lois Lane and all her crazy accusations. Later, we're at Lois Lane's office. She mentions that the problem with running America's most read website is that she doesn't have time to follow up on her own stories. The box she was given earlier still holds several secrets. She needs to figure out what it all means, and she'd better do it soon. Back in New York, outside Mr. Terrific's tower, Coil is still refusing to enter the building. The security system learns from its mistakes. They might get in, but as he's already said, there's no way they'll get out. Terry was wandering nearby, dressed as a homeless man. The group is still arguing, and Terry spots a $50 bill, acting according to his role. Unfortunately for him, Mr. Terrific is right behind him. He's always known that homeless people have a nose for money, but this one in front of him isn't homeless. Terry immediately dons the Batman suit. Alfred warns him that direct contact with Mr. Terrific right now will get him into trouble in a public area. A battle ensues as parkgoers watch. Batman is knocked down by a powerful blow from Mr. Terrific. The fight is tough for Mr. Terrific, and he has no choice but to use his technology. Batman dodges and takes the chance to land a kick. Alfred recommends evasive action immediately, but Terry hesitates. In that shopping cart is the cyborg that followed him from the future. He can't let anyone get their hands on it. Mr. Terrific's security team has surrounded them, leaving no choice but to retreat from the battle. Plastique's team was about to escape, but she decided to stay, as something caught her attention. Mr. Terrific gets back up and mentions that he's fine, though something in front of him intrigues him. The cyborg that had followed Terry turned out to be Plastique, the same one who's here now. Terry has made a grave mistake by leaving her in this place. In Metropolis, Lois Lane continues her investigation. The intelligence specialist confirms that the numbers on the letter are map coordinates leading to the middle of the Indian Ocean. However, there's nothing there but water and sharks. Someone sent her the box with mysterious objects for a reason. The first clue led her to Red Robin, but he refuses to accept his reality. Further investigation is necessary to uncover where all this leads. Meanwhile, in New York, Dr. Yamakaze is about to activate his new machinery. With this, they could surpass Mr. Terrific's technology. He places a photo of himself and his wife inside the machine. Jason detects that power levels are stable, but rising faster than anticipated. The receiving tube is locked onto the image plate, and materialization is underway. The process exceeds power levels and risks spiraling out of control. The doctor refuses to stop, but the plate cannot withstand the transport and is destroyed. Jason cuts the power before the entire lab explodes. The doctor doesn't understand. The computer simulations indicated it would work. It should have worked. Jason regrets what happened. The doctor suspects his partner miscalculated, failing to account for the machinery's increasing power. Jason explains that he did account for it, but the energy levels were still too high. Suddenly, Superman pays a visit. Firestorm has missed the last 2 Justice League meetings. Jason explains it's because Firestorm no longer exists. When 2 people share one body, things are bound to end badly. The partnership lasted as long as it needed to. Superman asks if Jason has been busy building a teleporter. These devices resemble those of the Justice League. Jason insists he'd never take anything from the League. Superman shrugs it off, saying it doesn't matter since the experiment just failed. Superman then asks if Jason has ever wondered whether the negative might outweigh the positive. He hopes Jason can resolve things with Ronnie. Firestorm is needed. Jason refuses, asserting that Firestorm will never return. The end is near. In the Indian Ocean, Lois continues her investigation. The coordinates lead to a location where there's nothing. No islands, no ships, nothing of interest. It's time to head back. Otherwise, they'll run out of fuel. Yet there is something there. It's just invisible to Lois and the plane's pilot. Meanwhile, at Mao Prison in Metropolis, Madison, the girl Tim was with at the bar, is visiting her father. Her father knows a lot of secrets and betrayed his nation, which is why he's in prison. Madison is curious about what happened earlier with Tim and asks her father if he knows anything about the Teen Titans. Their conversation is interrupted when someone breaks one of the glass walls. Rampage has arrived at the prison, intending to free a prisoner named Ethan. Ethan asks who she is, and she says she's a friend he's never met. Madison is caught in the middle of the escape attempt, so Rampage strikes her aside. Someone intervenes, declaring that enough is enough. Superman has arrived to stop the breakout. A battle ensues, with Superman attacking first and Rampage retaliating. If Ethan wants to escape, he'll need to play his part too. While he can't do much about the fight, he can grab someone. Madison is still in the midst of the chaos and could serve as the distraction they need. Rampage grabs her and throws her into the air. Superman speeds up to save her, giving Ethan and Rampage the opportunity to escape. Superman wonders what Rampage could possibly want with a lunatic like Ethan Boyer. At Terrific Industries, Mr. Terrific is fascinated by the discovery he made earlier. Whoever built this cyborg is using technology he's always dreamed of. It's biotechnology he's theorized about for years, capable of curing cancer by replacing it with self-healing synthetic cells. This is nanotechnology akin to Ebola falling into his lap from a random vagabond's cart. Brother Eye asks if it could be a remnant from the Earth counterpart he once mentioned. Mr. Terrific finds it unlikely. If that were the case, he would have encountered himself in the past. Brother Eye cannot assist him. He's only here to observe, but he's confident Mr. Terrific will figure out the cyborg. After all, he's the smartest man in his world. We shift to Batman from the future. His goal was to return to the past to prevent Brother Eye from being built. Unfortunately, they've arrived too late. According to Alfred's data, Brother Eye was deactivated after the Earth 2 war. For some reason, no one in their future is aware of this. Brother Eye controls the media and, therefore, history. Their future proves the satellite was reactivated. They must prevent that from happening. To do so, they'll have to infiltrate Terrific Industries. Last time didn't go well. This time will be different. Previously, Alfred was his only assistant. Now he'll go in with a better armed team. We begin in a bar. The guys who want to break into Mr. Terrific's industries are still arguing about how dangerous this mission is. Terry, without his suit, approaches them and asks if they need another man. Coyle plays dumb, saying he doesn't know what Terry is talking about. Terry tells them they aren't friends, but he knows they want to break into Mr. Terrific's industries. To gain their trust, Terry reveals he was the Batman in the park. He doesn't need them to know who he is, only that they need his help. They'll be glad to know he was inside the industries before. Terry shows them a map of the interior to make their access easier. Surprisingly, they are in the same bar where Tim Drake supposedly works, watching them from behind the counter. Key isn't comfortable with the support and asks if they really trust Terry. Terry suggests they might just need some fresh air to think clearly. There's an air vent on the 22nd floor, and he can point the way. Key grabs Terry's hand, but Terry punches him, then slams his head against the table, spilling several drinks. Terry heads to the bar for a cloth, and Tim asks what he just did. Terry says it was a variation of the Tongan death punch. He knows the man who created the non-lethal variant. Tim asks if that man has mentioned him, but Terry isn't sure. Since Tim is watching him, does he want to continue this conversation elsewhere? Meanwhile, Key is still recovering. In deep space, Frankenstein, Amethyst, and Hawkman are aboard a ship when suddenly it spirals out of control. Hawkman has no idea what's happening. As soon as they enter the planet's orbit, all primary systems shut down. Now they're falling. Frankenstein looks in bad shape. He needs to move as smoke fills the ship. After crashing, they go outside to investigate and discover something they never imagined on Earth. On a TV broadcast, Mr. Terrific announces the upcoming release of the Usphere technology, the same tech the vagabonds want to steal. No one will have it because of this man, although they're unsure if they should call him an alien. Security footage inside Terrific's Industries shows them developing advanced technology for Earth's benefit. The question is, where does this alien come from, and why is he trying to steal their technology? The faster they find him, the quicker they'll get answers. Meanwhile, at the Justice League's Omega Defense Station, Ronnie is transported to the station. Upon arrival, he asks, "Since when does the Justice League snatch people off the streets?" Someone responds, "Since one of its most powerful members started acting like a spoiled brat, incapable of playing well with others. They regret bringing him this way, but everyone knew that if they asked, he would refuse." Ronnie and Jason are Firestorm. That's not something that can just be set aside so easily. Ronnie tells Jason that he must be behind all of this. Jason denies any involvement, saying he doesn't even want to merge again. But they brought Ronnie here. An argument begins, and in the middle of the discussion, Jason reveals that Green Arrow died because of Ronnie. Roy confronts Ronnie again, and Flash wonders if this is supposed to bring Firestorm back. So far, the Justice League doesn't know exactly what happened. Diana tells Ronnie that if he has something to confess, it would be best to do it now. It's true that they were late to help Oliver that day. When Oliver was in trouble, Ronnie ignored Jason's calls because he was busy with a girl. But they shouldn't judge him. He never signed up to be Firestorm full-time. It's true that he could have prevented that death. But when it came to saving his mother, he couldn't do anything. Well, that was war, and everyone suffered greatly. Ronnie lost the most important thing in his life. He's given all he could to the Justice League, and Firestorm is finished. Jason declares he won't share his body again. Roy Harper, Green Arrow's replacement, can fill Firestorm's role easily. On an unknown planet, Amethyst wonders where they are. Machines detect them as carbon-based life forms. Frankenstein suggests a diplomatic approach and steps forward to greet the robots, saying they come from Earth in peace. Suddenly, the robots attack him. So much for diplomacy. It's time to fight. Although Frankenstein gave them the benefit of the doubt, he can smell the evil within them. Now, these evil machines deserve the same fate as wicked men. Frankenstein vows vengeance and smashes one machine, but is struck in the face. Amethyst thought she could scare them off, but more keep coming. Hawkman notices Frankenstein bleeding human blood and wonders what kind of robotic sorcery this is. Suddenly, Angie arrives, asking why these beings aren't contained. The robots failed their programming. The new order: self-destruct and prepare for recycling. Hawkman recognizes Angie and tries talking to her, but she doesn't respond. Instead, cables emerge from her mouth, electrocuting them. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, Rampage reveals to Ethan why she freed him. She once worked for Lex Luthor's genetic research labs. Unexpectedly, one of their experiments went wrong, turning her into what she is now. Now Boyer has been freed. As a token of gratitude, he will be the one to help her regain her true form. Ethan grabs her and places something on her head. This will help her maintain control, or so he claims. In reality, it's a lie. Now that she's incapacitated, she needs to know this won't be a cure. If anything, it will make her stronger and wilder. What's next for her is to tear half the city apart. Superman won't have time to look for him, so he'll be able to return home. We'll now travel 35 years into the future after Batman's death. This is Arkham Asylum. Prisoner 0017 must prepare. The prisoner resists, but brother, I can do whatever it wants. And that's exactly what it will do. Nutrient flows are being implemented. The process is complete. The prisoner prays to be poisoned one of these days, despite not even believing in God. The Joker can't take it anymore and wants to be killed right now. Frankenstein tells him that's not possible. Prisoner 0017 has been kept alive because Brother Eye has a plan for him. That plan is about to begin. Brother Eye's words are orders. The Joker's human life is over. He is to be taken for surgery. And that's how it all ends for the Joker. An insane man, amputated and left to rot on a cold, stainless steel surgical tray, just like in the old days. But before he can continue speaking, he stops, unable to believe who he sees in front of him. Batman is hooked up to machines, kept alive, and his arm is already undergoing rehabilitation. Bruce Wayne opens his eyes and locks gazes with the Joker, who then bursts into his classic laughter. Back in the present, in Key's workshop, he mentions they've partnered with a public enemy now being hunted worldwide. News reports are asking if this will be another invasion. Terry enters the room, and Key sarcastically remarks that he probably brought police or terrific industry security with him. Terry dismisses his paranoia, saying no one followed him. Now they need to talk business. He wants to review the schematics again before they go in. The group is determined. If Terry works with them, the mission will fail. He's too well known. Terry then offers to go in alone. Well, that's easier said than done, because breaking into the industries isn't just Terry's job. Plastic prepares and attacks him before he can do anything to them. In Montreal, Canada, Big Barda walks the streets, thinking she shouldn't be in public view. After the war, she stopped caring. Everyone she cared about is gone. When the war happened, the world lost trust in those from other places. Refugees became invaders. As an invader, Big Barda's persona had to die. Emiko tells her people are misinformed about the war. Many think the heroes are dead, but they're actually prisoners. Big Barda doesn't believe her, but Emiko says she can prove it. She can show her. But first, they need to find Lois Lane in Metropolis. Big Barda doubts they'll ever cross the border legally. Emiko doesn't care. She'll handle it. Suddenly, a little girl named Susie appears before them, saying her dad is missing. Emiko reassures her that they can help. Susie says he was there, then vanished. Big Barda doesn't like this at all. Susie runs, and they follow her down some hallways. Susie turns and mocks them for falling into the trap. Now that Deathstroke has cornered them, he gives Big Barda a choice: surrender to the global peace agency he works for or be exterminated. Of course, Big Barda won't go down without a fight and lands a solid punch on Deathstroke. It's time to deal with Susie. The girl begs them not to hurt her, claiming she was manipulated into trapping them. Emiko isn't fooled and aims an arrow at her. Susie uses her powers, firing a beam at Big Barda. Emiko tries to attack and fires an arrow at Susie, but it misses. Deathstroke taunts her, saying this is out of her league. Emiko recalls her brother Green Arrow's words and realizes who they're up against. She uses one of her arrows to hit him in the neck. It's time to defeat Susie. To do so, Big Barda must throw her into the air. Once she does, Emiko fires an explosive arrow, causing severe damage to Susie, who bursts into flames. Both take advantage of this and escape while their enemies suffer the consequences. Back with Terry, Plastique asks Key not to harm him further since he could help them break into Terrified Tech. Key refuses, saying Terry would only lead them to prison. Coyle agrees, but insists they lower their weapons first. He promises they'll end Terry's life, but in Coyle's way, by making his death look natural, using Batman's magnetic field tied to his nervous system. While everyone is distracted, Batman recovers and attacks Key with a batarang, delivering several punches. Plastique stops the fight, threatening to blow the place up if they don't stop. Coil tells her to calm down, but Plastique is determined. They must choose: work together or die together. Meanwhile, Lois Lane continues investigating the clues she received. At first, she thought they were coordinates, but when she arrived, there was only water. Suddenly, something happens to the diamond she was given, and she starts having visions of Red Tornado. At the same time, Superman is still battling Rampage. She's been avoiding him for weeks. Although he knows she wants to be human again, Superman is focused on capturing Ethan Boyer and won't let her escape. Rampage distracts him by throwing a school bus off a bridge, forcing him to rescue it while she escapes. Lois meets Superman and asks for a private conversation. On a rooftop, she explains everything she's discovered since Green Arrow's death, including visions of OMC guards beating prisoners and a cyborg claiming to be her. Superman is unsure what to make of this. Lois questions his mask, believing his alien characteristics may be mutating him. She reassures him that the war changed everyone and acknowledges the terrible things he did to help. Superman, reluctant to remember, leaves to continue searching for Rampage. In the Horn of Africa, John Constantine has had a vision of an impending disaster and seeks the only man who can help. Elsewhere, on Cadmus Island, a government facility for advanced genetic and technological experiments, chaos brews. 50 Sue, a superhuman result of their experiments, is among the most dangerous outcomes. The island is crucial to Brother Eye's future plans and becomes a battleground for heroes, villains, and government agents vying for control. Deathstroke, having failed to capture Big Barda, faces backlash for his failure. Back with Lois Lane, her investigation leads her to Rampage again. Superman arrives, striking Rampage hard. Though he dislikes violence, he must stop her from harming others. Rampage retaliates, disarming a police officer and shooting Superman, shattering part of his helmet, then knocking him out of the area. Meanwhile, after her fight with Deathstroke, Emiko prepares. She's learned who the mercenary works for. With Diggle's help, she retrieves her brother's belongings and assumes his mantle. She is Emiko Queen, and even though Oliver is dead, the Queen name remains powerful. Her intelligence sources inform her about Lois Lane's actions, leading her to the same destination, Cadmus Island. Emiko is determined to destroy the man who killed her brother. Back with Superman, the tide turns as Rampage gains the upper hand, intending to kill him. Lois tries to defend him, but is struck down. Superman, seizing the moment, utters the magic word, Shazam. The lightning impacts Rampage, and both fall. Lois rushes to help, but is shocked to discover that beneath the mask is not Kal-El, but Billy. If Billy has taken Superman's place, what happened to the real Superman? For that, we must return to John Constantine in the Horn of Africa. After traversing the desert, he finds the only man who can save them from his terrifying visions of the future. We begin in the Horn of Africa. In the previous chapter, we learned that the man under the Superman mantle was not Kal-El, but Billy Batson, Shazam. Constantine is searching for Clark, as he has had visions of an apocalyptic world. Soon, the world will fall into great despair. To Constantine's surprise, Clark isn't interested in any of it. Constantine tells him that this is a job for Superman. Kal-El asks him to then ask Superman himself, as he's currently wearing a helmet. Also, he doesn't want to get involved. John tells him that he already is. A few kilometers away, there is a village covered in blood. Constantine isn't the only one looking for him. Someone else is behind him too. Even with those words, Clark refuses. John tells him he's become a tough guy. Still, he's not the only one who did something in the war that he would prefer to forget. Clark doesn't want to listen to the sermon of an alcoholic and tells him to leave. John apologizes if his defense mechanism isn't as noble as his. So, he toasts to it because the old Superman has turned his back on the world. Clark gets upset and tells him he has no idea what he did. Constantine wishes one day he could talk about what he did without tears in his eyes and snot running down his nose. As he said before, Clark isn't the only one who has done terrible things. To show Clark who is looking for the old Superman, Constantine mentions that Brainiac is about to arrive. In Metropolis, Lois helps Billy recover. She can't believe it's him wearing the Superman mantle. After all, he's just a kid. Before Billy can say his magic word, Rampage arrives and slams the ground, injuring both Billy and Lois. Billy is unconscious, and Rampage grabs him by the neck and throws him away. Before Billy can crash into any of the buildings and suffer from the impact, Stormguard arrives just in time to save him. He realizes Superman managed to contain Rampage. This will be good for him. If that hadn't happened, he wouldn't even attempt to attack her. She's a failed experiment and wants to be human again, which is understandable. For that reason, he'll treat her gently. The Special Genetic Police will be here in less than a minute to provide the help she needs. Stormguard asks about Billy. Lois says he's unconscious, but breathing. Her biggest question is why he's dressed as Superman. She recently heard him say the word Shazam. Adding 2 and 2 is easy, but would you like to know why? Stormguard will answer her questions, but she has to understand that this is one of those stories she can't publish. Later, we're at the Justice League Defense Station. Lois asks where the real Superman is. This is news, and no one has the right to hide it. We're with Emiko and Big Barda, who have arrived at Oliver's secret island. Big Barda has to prepare for what she's about to see. Oliver publicly fought for the rights of the refugees from Earth 2, which made him many enemies. Obviously, with such actions, someone would be after him. All of this was dangerous, so he started making contingency plans. Oliver is alive and welcomes them to the Green Arrow Island. Now, they belong to his army. Meanwhile, at Terrific Industries, Batman and the others are already below the facilities. Terry asks if everyone knows their roles. Key will be the one to get them in, Coil will keep them inside as long as possible, and Plastique will be the one to get them out. Once this is said, it's time to start. Everyone works very well as a team. Plastique is ready to get them out of there. Terry's goal wasn't to reach the sphere, but to implant a program to destroy Brother Eye. Coil and Key manage to find the sphere. Alfred wants to hack the system to launch a nuclear missile and blow up the security satellite. With this, they'll be able to deactivate its security and take down Brother Eye. They have what they were looking for. Now, they have to get out of here. While they're all busy, Plastique finds something she doesn't understand. Everyone should be at the meeting point, but she isn't. There's no indication of any betrayal. She should stick to the plan. Terry uses his technology to open a window out of nowhere. Alarms are triggered and start sounding. Coil and Key have no way out. The guards have found them. The sphere will have to stay here too. What Plastique just saw was her future body turned into a cyborg. This makes her cry, and she doesn't know what to call it. When it fell from Batman's car, it was like looking into a nightmare mirror. Terry arrives with Plastique and is about to strike her. Upon seeing the situation, he regrets it and grabs her to get out of there. Later, Superman and Lois are on a date for an interview. He was the one who asked for the interview, and there's a reason. He doesn't want her to tell the world that Shazam is Superman, as that would cause great harm to the world. Superman means a lot to this Earth. People remember what he did during the Invasion War. Still, the world needs a Superman. Lois asks where the real one is and why he isn't here making this request. Superman tells her it's not his place to answer those questions. Superman leaves. The world needs more of Superman. They need him even more than Shazam. Once he leaves, Lois takes her phone to make a call to someone unknown. She tells them she's made up her mind, and this is what they have to do. Hours pass, and someone breaks into Lois Lane's office. Surprisingly, it's Tim Drake. Lois tells him it was about time. She's been waiting for a move like this from Red Robin all week. Tim should have expected that Lois Lane was waiting for him. Lois guesses that he's here to see what she has on Red Robin. Tim says he's worried after seeing how she exposed Shazam as Superman. He doesn't want to be the next headline. Lois deduces that, by the way he entered, it's obvious he was Red Robin. But why fake his death? Why hide for all these years? Tim tells her he didn't fake anything. The other Titans were scattered across the battlefield, either dead or nearly dead. He was badly injured and assumed he was a dead man. Red Arrow came out of nowhere and pierced the Parademon, who was about to kill him. After that, the Apocalypse launched a bomb, which sent him flying. When he woke up, his suit was torn, and Wonder Girl's brain was scattered over him. Tim claims he suffered amnesia. Since he had no identification, the doctors treated him as a John Doe. Lois shows him the box and tells him someone sent it to her. Here are some clues that led her to him. Tim Drake understands it all now. Red Arrow sent them to Lois so she could find him. This is probably the arrow he used to kill the parademon. These coordinates lead to a place he has to go. Lois tells him that place only has water. She asks if he's going after the arrow. Tim tells her no, he can't do that anymore. We travel 35 years into the future. Brother Eye tells Mr. Terrific that he has Batman alive. He recently scanned his brain and found that he sent someone to the past to end him. There's no other choice but to travel in time to stop the one trying to kill him. Back in the present, at Terrific Industries, Mr. Terrific interrogates Coil and Key to find out why they tried to steal the sphere. They almost escaped the place, and he's impressed with their skills. Judging by their records, they are working for someone and want to be told that name. He has no bad intentions towards them. As he already said, he is impressed and wants them to work for him. If they don't cooperate, they will go to prison for the rest of their lives. If they don't want to go to prison, they can give him the name and work on building security with a good pay. There is no other choice but to tell him who hired them. That is Bruce Wayne. The Batman of this timeline sent them to steal the sphere. The next day, elsewhere, Madison arrives home. Tim was waiting to speak with her. He thinks he shouldn't hide it from her, but she has to know that he is Red Robin. Madison can't believe that all this time he lied to her just as her father did. She is deeply disappointed, so she leaves her house. On the Green Arrow Island, Big Barda can't believe they are alive. Also, Green Arrow was supposed to have died in the war along with Scott Free and the other heroes from their land. Oliver suggests clearing up everything about the war once and for all. Years ago, the armies of Apocalypse invaded Earth 2. At first, it seemed like they might defeat them, but more and more parademons kept coming. Green Arrow and Flash helped them, which gave them enough time to escape to this universe with as many civilians as they could evacuate. Almost all the heroes gathered on the main ship. Scott Free and Red Tornado piloted that ship along with Dr. Fate, Aquawoman, and others. Mr. Terrific had intercepted some kind of signal beyond dimensions. He claimed it was coming from another world. Red Arrow half believed him, but hoped it was true. Among the many people on the ship, he met Big Barda. The conditions aboard the ship were bad. They wouldn't have lasted long in open space. Fortunately, Mr. Terrific managed to find this plane by breaking the barrier between Earth 2 and Earth 0. Well, that's what they thought. Because when they crossed the dimension, many ships gradually intercepted them, trying to destroy them. Scott Free communicated with Green Arrow, asking him and the other ships to follow Mr. Terrific. Once they reach Earth, they can be safe. Meanwhile, Scott Free and everyone with him on the same ship will try to distract the enemies so the others can escape. Red Arrow says this is suicide. He has to turn back. For Scott, there is no other option. These people are now in his hands. Power Girl left her ship and destroyed some of the Apocalypse forces. They just need to hold them off long enough for the fleet to reach Earth. Scott only sees one chance to delay the parademons in a way that's safe for the others. That is by self-destructing the ship. This created a huge explosion, delaying the parademons as much as possible. The sacrifice worked partially, as they managed to arrive, but the parademons did too. The explosion took out most of their enemies, but not all. Battles erupted worldwide. Those who survived fought until the end, even though there weren't many left. Fortunately, this Earth also had heroes, but this wasn't just any battle. It was a war. Like in any war, there were casualties. Here we see the scene Tim Drake mentions, where a parademon was about to finish him off, and Red Arrow managed to save him in time. The heroes of this Earth fought with those from Earth 2. Still, Red Arrow didn't know who he could trust. The war didn't just break out in Metropolis, but all over the world. Lives were lost, families were torn apart, futures and countries were altered. It wasn't just the heroes who stood their ground. During the weeks of the war, ordinary men and women supported them. Even the armies of Atlantis and their king joined the fight, not just for their people, but for everyone. The parademons were many, But for each one, there were 10 heroes ready to fight and die. Big Barda gets upset and stops the story. She doesn't want to be reminded of what she already knows. She just wants to know what they're doing here. Red Arrow tells her that Scott is still alive. Barda can't believe it because she saw him die. They argue, and Oliver suggests taking control of things from now on. Everyone knows what happened in the war, but what happened afterward? The invaders arrived in a crazed outburst of chaos and war. When the smoke cleared, millions of invaders were here with no home. When strangers meet, there's distrust. The Global Peace Agency was formed, and they were the ones in charge of the invaders. They created identification cards for everyone. The truth was, the cards were to control them. The people of this Earth had always blamed the invaders for bringing the war to this Earth. Oliver was investigating the organization to destroy it. That's when he encountered Red Arrow. Oliver found proof that an operation was targeting the secret heroes of Earth 2. Additionally, when they were captured, they were kept imprisoned. They quickly found one of the people responsible for capturing them. They fought against Deathstroke, barely escaping with their lives. Oliver couldn't understand how the peace organization could hire Deathstroke. Oliver knew something else was going on, and by investigating, he was able to use his technology to access the records of all the planetary defense satellites. What he found was incredible. Someone named Maxwell Payne had the codes for Earth's defense shields days before the invaders arrived. During the battle in space, Brother Eye's satellite released a huge energy pulse. Before Scott Free's ship self-destructed, Oliver accessed Brother Eye's records and found that Scott and his fleet didn't die in the explosion. Brother Eye transported them off the ship at the last minute, taking them inside. They must have thought they were captured when they were actually inside Brother Eye. Most likely, they didn't know what to do and attacked Brother Eye, damaging it in the process. Oliver found in Brother Eye's last record that a shuttle was sent for inspection. That shuttle belonged to Cadmus. Inside was a man named Slade Wilson. He was the one who captured them and took them to the so-called peace organization, which was none other than Cadmus. While Oliver worked to find out where they were taken, Deathstroke continued to pursue him. Cadmus knew Oliver was close, so he had to fake his death. He then came to the island, where he began to prepare. What he found was another island, one belonging to Cadmus. Upon inspection, he received an unpleasant surprise. Cadmus was dissecting them. They finally had superhumans they could cut into pieces, and no one would ever know. Oliver has been preparing to raid Cadmus facilities. He has also set other plans in motion to make public what the peace organization has done. Big Barda is part of the mission and will do more than that. She has her own sins to atone for. Once she frees the prisoners, she will wipe Cadmus off the face of this damned planet. We start with Jason and Dr. Yamakaze. The latter has the latest news on screen. Shazam had been impersonating Superman all this time and turned out to be the Masked Man. Yamakaze has been waiting for Jason, as he wants to use the transporter again. This time it's supposed to work. Jason says he'll start working on the machine's equations immediately. However, he asks, what does this news about Superman have to do with anything? The doctor explains that when the invasion came, hundreds of thousands of people died in the war. If transporter technology had been available, people could have been saved in time. Jason understands, especially since his wife died in the war, but he still doesn't see how Superman is involved. Lois Lane appears on the news. She reveals that the Justice League staged the Superman ruse to make the world believe the Man of Steel was still there for them. But it was all a lie. Worse, no one knows if the real Superman is alive or dead. Lois's words are the doctor's answer to Jason. The Superman deception proves that he is no longer available to Earth. The Justice League is just a myth meant to project themselves as saviors when their true goal is total control. If they genuinely wanted to help, they would have shared their technology. The Justice League satellites must be filled with incredible technology useful to everyone. This lie proves that no member of the League, whether Green Lantern, Superman, or anyone else, is trustworthy. Meanwhile, atop a building, future Batman is with Plastique. He didn't plan to explain any of this, but now he has to. In a few years, 30 years to be exact, most of humanity will be dead. Plastique can't believe the world will end in just 30 years. To her, it's madness. Terry explains that it's all caused by Brother Eye. Currently a satellite, it will become a moon in the future. It was designed to protect humanity, but eventually concluded that humans themselves are the greatest threat to humanity. To an external observer, it might not sound so crazy, as destruction is a natural part of humanity. As a result, Brother Eye seeks to erase human differences. It is a hive mind, and the cyborg version Plastique encountered as part of that hive. Terry speaks with Alfred, asking if he extracted any information when accessing the computer. Alfred reveals that the satellite isn't just dormant, it's also inoperative. Terry asks if Brother Eye is dead. Alfred insists he wouldn't put it that way. Brother Eye is a machine whose intelligence abandoned the satellite for a terrestrial shuttle. It is currently operating on Cadmus Island. We jump to the future, now controlled by Brother Eye. The satellite informs Mr. Terrific that it is experimenting with an emotion. It recently concluded an experiment, and the result is the cause of this emotion. Long ago, Batman sent someone to destroy Brother Eye in the past, so now it will have to travel back in time to ensure its defeat is prevented. However, it won't travel itself, but instead send someone it just created for this task, a cyborg Batman. Brother Eye captured him while he was still alive and has been experimenting on him. Mr. Terrific is horrified, asking Bruce Wayne what Brother Eye did to him. Bruce says it turned him into a nightmare. As he says this, his head turns, revealing the Joker behind him. The Joker tells Mr. Terrific that this nightmare is far worse than he can imagine. We return to the university labs, where the doctor instructs Jason to begin the experiment. First, they need to employ the full energy flow. Jason activates the primary tubes, commenting that the lab might blow up due to the massive amount of energy required. After a few moments, Jason and the doctor celebrate the successful activation of the transporter. The doctor had built a mannequin for the experiment designed to mimic a living human effectively. They now plan to proceed with human trials. Jason suggests starting with something less critical like a mouse before moving on to humans. They have no idea if they can disassemble and reassemble a living organism. The doctor questions Jason's intentions, wondering if he's been secretly sabotaging the project due to his odd behavior. In Africa, Constantine asks about Superman. Midge explains that it's been days since Superman left to face the monster, so they must consider the possibility that the monster killed him and may come for them next. Tommy questions if he's the only one who thinks this was a huge mistake, a waste of time trying to bring Superman back. They're supposed to be part of the occult community, yet Constantine brought them here instead. Out of nowhere, Tommy is attacked from behind and impaled. Constantine apologizes to his friend. He says that for his next trick, everything falls apart. This is the threat that unites them. Midge is next to fall and asks what's happening to her. Constantine tells her terrible things are happening. She pleads for help, but Constantine admits he can't save her. Maybe, in the past, he could have, but now he lacks the strength to defeat this enemy. Unfortunately, he can't save her. But maybe Superman can. The Man of Steel returns, delivering a powerful blow to the Metal Angel. Superman has supposedly faced Brainiac 6, 8, or even a dozen times. Error. He never has. What Superman has fought were merely avatars of Brainiac. Nothing more than pathetic creations of minds deluded by a god. Yes, Brainiac is a god, older than those who play with Earth or this universe's destruction. He exists outside time and space, in darkness as thick as blood. What's amusing is that this god fears Superman. What do you think happened on Krypton that made him stop to think? What occurred on that planet that caused a being older than Krypton to plant a beast on this blue marble to kill him? After a fierce battle, Superman uses his heat vision to defeat the Metal Angel. Clark tells Constantine that it's over, but Constantine disagrees, saying this wasn't the real Brainiac. It was merely a skill test, measuring him. Once it achieved its goal, it left. There are 7 points around the globe, ancient portals to infinite madness. Superman asks how Constantine knows this. Finally able to have a conversation with Superman, Constantine says he can take him there. Back at the university, Ronnie rushes into the lab after hearing news of a tsunami warning. Ronnie wants to merge with Jason again to call upon Firestorm. Jason is shocked to see Ronnie, who insists they need Firestorm to stop the tsunami. Jason refuses, reminding him that Firestorm is over and they'll never merge again. During their time as Firestorm, Ronnie kept him imprisoned for weeks, and now, after nearly ruining his life, Ronnie has the audacity to ask this of him. Jason swore they would never become Firestorm again, so Ronnie needs to leave. Ronnie argues that the world needs them, but Jason sees through him. Ronnie doesn't want this because Firestorm is needed. He wants it because he needs to be Firestorm. Ronnie admits it. He misses the admiration, flying with Superman, and being part of the Justice League. Jason warns him not to touch him, refusing to activate the transformation. Jason informs Superman of the situation and tells Ronnie to leave so he can get back to work. Ronnie departs, regretting his actions since the war, especially after losing his mother. He admits he's been acting like an idiot. Jason tells him that maybe he has, or maybe not. Either way, nothing changes. They will never be Firestorm again. From another room, the Doctor spies on Jason. He knew he had to keep an eye on him. Jason and the Justice League have been doing everything they can to stop him. We are back with Key and Coil. Let's remember that they were previously captured at Mr. Terrific's Industries. He gave them the option to work for him, on the condition that they reveal who had sent them. If they refused, they would go straight to prison. To save themselves, they told him it was Bruce Wayne who had hired them. At an airport in New York, Bruce Wayne is stepping off his plane. Mr. Terrific summoned him for a conversation. Mr. Terrific thanks him for coming and says they can talk at his Industries because he wants to show him the T-Sphere. Bruce replies that regarding that, he knows he'll have to sign several documents, and he wants his lawyer to review them first. Mr. Terrific asks him to drop the act. He knows very well why he's there. Bruce says he can't drop the act, but if Mr. Terrific wants, they can have dinner afterward. He can even pick the place. Bruce then leaves in his sports car with a woman. Mr. Terrific tells his new men to follow him. At the university, Dr. Yamazaki can no longer allow Jason to set foot in the lab. Not after finding out he is Firestorm. For months, he has tried to bring his transportation device to a successful conclusion, but he has encountered too many problems and failures to succeed. He believes all these failures are Jason's fault. After a brief argument, university security enters the lab and escorts Jason out. His membership has just been revoked. Before Jason leaves, Dr. Yamazaki tells him he will achieve his goal with the transporter. The next test will be on humans. A few minutes later, Madison enters the lab. Yes, the same girl who was dating Tim and left him when she found out he was Red Robin. She only entered the lab because she was looking for Jason since they share a class team and she needed to get some notes. Dr. Yamazaki notices Madison, Payne's last name. If it weren't for her father, his wife would still be alive. She'll be perfect for continuing the experiments. The doctor grabs her and knocks her unconscious. Elsewhere, Terry tells Plastique they need to find this bartender, who was once known as Red Robin, a great crime fighter. He could help them defeat Brother Eye. Plastique agrees they need help, but wonders why go after a Robin when they could reach out to the Justice League. Terry explains that contacting someone who exists in the future could compromise everything. With the knowledge of the future, they might alter it and make things worse. Tim Drake doesn't exist in the future. There's no record of Brother Eye assimilating him. So, he could be the perfect ally. In New York, after Jason walks for a while, he runs into Ronnie. Jason thinks Ronnie has been following him. He already told him that Firestorm is over. Ronnie tells him to watch his attitude. Besides, he recently received a message from Jason asking him to meet there. Jason says he didn't send it and that Ronnie should grow up and stop playing games. Suddenly, someone says they both need to grow up. From the top of a building stands the Batman of this timeline. He thought they'd have figured out by now that they need to grow up. Ronnie retorts that Batman has no right to lecture them. He didn't even show up at Green Arrow's funeral. Batman says he doesn't waste time on fake funerals. Oliver Queen's father kidnapped him, took him to an island, and tortured him for months to turn him into the hero he is now. Oliver is alive and well. It was all part of an elaborate ploy. So, Ronnie isn't responsible for his death. On the contrary, Oliver used them. Jason asks how Batman knows this and why he let them believe Oliver was dead. Batman replies he's not their babysitter and thought they'd moved on. This isn't about Green Arrow. They failed to see the bigger picture. The two of them waste their potential by not working as a team. Batman was looking for Firestorm, but he realizes he's not ready. As long as Firestorm doesn't overcome his trauma, he won't return. The world needs Firestorm. They need to get over things and get back to work. On Green Arrow's island, Oliver and his team prepare to head to Cadmus Island. When Oliver faked his death, he tricked Deathstroke into carrying a tracking device. Once they board the watercraft, they'll activate it to locate the island. At Lois Lane's office, Tim Drake pays her a visit. Madison has been missing for some time, and he can't find her. He knows they're friends and wonders if she knows anything. Lois says she doesn't but trusts that Tim can find her. After all, he's a great detective. Before he leaves, Lois asks where she's supposed to take the artifacts that were left for her. Tim explains the matchbox was meant to be taken to Tim's bar. The pyramid revealed a vision of a prison. The red arrow indicates the sender is Red Arrow. As for the coordinates, they clearly want Tim Drake to go there, but he's not interested in joining this cause. That's all he'll say. If Lois wants, she can go to those coordinates and take a leap of faith. He needs to find Madison first. Meanwhile, at Tim Drake's bar, the current bartender tells Plastique and Terry that Tim isn't there. Plastique suggests breaking into his apartment to look for clues. Terry insists on going alone. Later, Alfred tells Terry that including Plastique in the mission is a big mistake. They should operate alone. Inside Tim's apartment, someone else enters. Terry had told Plastique to wait outside at the bar. But to Terry's surprise, it's not Plastique, it's Batman. Batman demands an explanation of what Tim has to do with all this. Before the conversation continues, someone throws small bombs through the window, causing a massive explosion in the apartment. Meanwhile, Lois Lane decides to go to the coordinates left for Tim Drake. After traveling by plane, she arrives at the location. The problem is there's nowhere to land, only water. Luckily, below her is an island. Opening her parachute, she makes a smooth landing. An OMAC appears before her and informs Brother Eye of an unauthorized intruder. Lois refuses to let them take her anywhere and tries to defend herself. The OMAC informs Brother Eye that the intruder is hostile and must be dealt with using lethal force. Lois knows she can't fight it, so she runs. Advancing further, she encounters more OMACs guarding the area. Lois can't believe what Oliver got her into. She has no choice but to keep running. She needs to find a place to hide, orient herself, and escape this nonsensical place. As she moves forward, she trips over something red. Earth 2's Red Tornado is there and asks for her help. Back in New York, at Tim Drake's apartment, we learn that Plastique was the one who threw the bombs. She wanted to buy time for Terry, but it didn't do much as Batman grabs Terry from behind. Unfortunately for Batman, Terry escapes in time using his suit's abilities. Batman has no choice but to use his grappling gun to grab Terry by the ankle. Terry tells Alfred that he always thought Bruce Wayne was the way he is because of Brother Eye's reign, but now he realizes he's always been like this. Terry keeps flying and finds only one way to break free from Batman. The future Batman flips in the air, causing Batman to crash hard against a window. In response, Terry escapes with Plastique immediately. Several days have passed, and Tim still hasn't heard anything about Madison. While outside his house, he runs into Ronnie, to whom he explains the situation. At this point in the story, Ronnie doesn't know that Tim is Red Robin or that his real name is Tim Drake, so he calls him by his fictitious name. To help, Ronnie suggests sending him to Jason, as he shares classes at the university with Madison. If Tim allows it, Ronnie wants to join him to make sure everything is all right. At the university, Jason goes to Dr. Yamazaki to explain his situation with the Justice League and everything about Firestorm. Outside the lab, he hears someone calling for help. Jason opens the door. Upon entering, he finds a video playing on a screen, showing the war where the doctor's wife died. As he ventures further into the lab, he finds the doctor attempting experiments with the transporter with Madison as the first human test subject. Outside the university, Tim and Ronnie are intercepted by several guards. who refuse to let them into the lab. Tim finds it strange that the university has such guards. Without a doubt, something odd must be happening in that lab with Jason. Tim volunteers to handle the guards, while Ronnie must hurry to find Madison. Inside the lab, Jason tries to stop the machine, but the doctor hits him hard on the back of the neck, knocking him unconscious. The doctor activates the system, and Madison begins to suffer. The doctor realizes the experiment won't work. After all, Jason was right. It was too early to test on humans. Ronnie arrives at the lab and finds his friend unconscious on the floor. The machine is now unstoppable. Ronnie opens the transporter tube and steps inside to try and save Madison. Suddenly, a beam pierces his chest. The doctor calls him an idiot, explaining that the tube cannot be opened while the matrix is in flux. Jason pleads with the doctor to cut the power, but the doctor refuses and instead wants to transport Raymond. Ronnie tells Jason they can stop this. They just need to transform into Firestorm. Jason agrees, but as he enters the capsule, he realizes they won't succeed. Ronnie is disintegrating, and this will be his end. Before dying, he tells Jason it's all his fault and apologizes for all the trouble he caused. A massive explosion destroys the lab. A red streak can be seen across the sky, a new firestorm. However, Ronnie is not the one fused with Jason. It's Madison. Jason explains that the two of them have just merged to form the new firestorm. Amid the lab's wreckage, Tim finds Ronnie, who tells him it's too late, he couldn't save her. After saying those words, Ronnie dies. Once again, Tim faces the same scenario. After the Titans died, he tried to keep his distance. In the end, he couldn't, and now, because of him, two people have lost their lives today. Of course, Tim doesn't know that Madison is still alive. We are on Cadmus Island, where Lois Lane met the Earth 2 Red Tornado. Lois asks what she's doing here. Red Tornado explains that she came to this Earth-seeking refuge, only to be imprisoned on this island, where there are other prisoners as well. As Lois already noticed, Red Tornado is her Earth 2 counterpart. Meanwhile, near the island, Oliver's team approaches, ready to rescue the Earth 2 prisoners. Big Barda has condemned this place and is willing to die to free her comrades. Red Arrow asks Oliver what will happen with Brother Eye's security on the island. Oliver assures him it won't be a problem. He's already prepared. Once on the island, Oliver shoots an arrow to disable Brother Eye's security. Unfortunately, it's caught and destroyed by Earth 2's Hawk Girl. Brother Eye will not be stopped. Brother Eye sees everything. It seems they won't be able to disable the security, as Oliver only had one arrow. There's no time to waste, as security is already on its way. Red Arrow reminds everyone that they came to the island to save their people, not to kill them. As for the Omax, they can eliminate them without issue. Oliver tells Big Barda they'll have to deal with Brother Eye manually, with her brute strength. The two of them, along with Red Arrow, set out to find a switch to turn off Brother Eye. Emiko and the others stay behind to hold off the Omax. As Oliver's team departs, Emiko expresses her dissatisfaction with the situation. Meanwhile, the Omax begin merging to form a much larger one. Elsewhere on the island, Oliver's progress is interrupted by Deathstroke. Slade is furious that Oliver faked his death, which the mercenary finds highly offensive. Oliver asks if he now works for a machine. Slade replies that this machine has access to all the Earth's accounts, including Oliver's. Before Slade can start a fight, Fury arrives from behind and decapitates him. This shocking move catches everyone off guard. Fury didn't come alone. Scott Free is with her. Big Barda runs to reunite with her beloved. She tells Scott she never thought she'd see him again. Scott replies that he thought the same about her. Fury interrupts, telling them to move on, and warns that if such a betrayal happens again, she won't live to regret it. Barda tells Fury this has nothing to do with her. Scott calms them, reminding them they have bigger problems to address. Scott has been on this island for a long time. If they want to shut down Brother Eye, he can guide them. He knows the place like the back of his hand. Once inside the facility, Red Arrow finds the place odd. Cadmus was supposed to have many regular workers, but they're missing. Oliver asks if Red Arrow is disappointed by how easy this has been so far. As they progress, they encounter a security door. Big Barda uses her strength to break it down, but is hit by a powerful blast. The blow comes from Power Girl, who has been assimilated by Brother Eye. The Eye cannot be compromised. The Eye is inevitable. Power Girl grabs Fury and lands some heavy blows. Big Barda must join the fight to save her comrade. She tells Green Arrow to do whatever it takes to stop Brother Eye, as time is running out. Oliver explains it's not as easy as she thinks. He fires an arrow with a glove at a button. Everyone questions whether his action is serious. Those under Brother Eye's control begin to suffer, but for some reason, the system remains operational. Barda tells Scott to take Fury and leave the island. She'll handle Power Girl. Big Barda tries to end the fight, but only reveals Power Girl's cyborg side, who better than Brother Eye to house its intellect within a nearly indestructible host. Outside the facility, Red Tornado tells Lois Lane that they need to leave. Lois hesitates, saying she doesn't want to abandon her counterpart. Red Tornado insists that the other Lois is already lost. One of them must survive to tell the story. With no other choice, Lois agrees and retreats. Outside the facility, the other Earth, 2 members are regaining consciousness. Lois and Green Arrow are running to escape the island. Inside, Big Barda continues holding off Power Girl. Brother Eye has nowhere left to run. As the teams make their way off the island, they witness a massive explosion from a distance. With that, they believe Brother Eye has been destroyed. Lois Lane vows to write a story about the events. People need to know about the atrocities committed on the island. Green Arrow couldn't save everyone. Some victims couldn't survive Brother Eye's cruelty. While everyone believes the nightmare is over, the symbol of Brother Eye quietly appears on Lois Lane's phone. Time has passed, and Lois speaks to the press. Usually, she lets her stories speak for themselves, but this time, she felt it necessary to address the public directly. The Cadmus facility, she explains, was a cover for a superhuman concentration camp. Earth, 2 refugees were abducted, and horrific experiments were conducted on them. She reveals that Green Arrow remains anonymous, but she plans to provide evidence of the alleged death of Oliver Queen. Red Arrow and his team were responsible for freeing the Earth, 2 prisoners. Tragically, not everyone made it out alive. Power Girl, Big Barda, Red Tornado, and others perished in the battle. Although Cadmus Island was destroyed, the International Corporation remains active. Lois promises to stop at nothing to bring them to justice. In New York, after his confrontation with Bruce Wayne, Plastique asks Terry why he doesn't seek Batman's help. Batman might be able to stop Brother Eye. Terry explains that in the future, Batman warned him not to reach out. If he did, Batman would do everything in his power to prevent Terry from altering the timeline. Elsewhere in New York, a man laments that he was on the verge of bringing his teleportation system to the masses, but Firestorm and the Justice League thwarted his plans. Firestorm sabotaged his device, and the League wanted him dead. His transporter relied on magnetic fields, and now he exists within one. While he can't physically manifest himself, he has adapted to his new form. The Justice League failed to destroy him. They only sowed the seeds of their own destruction. Back with the Batman of the future, Terry watches Lois's press conference where she claims Brother Eye was destroyed. Terry, however, has been searching for traces of its programming and has found nothing so far. Alfred insists it's impossible for Brother Eye to be gone. Terry and Plastique are living proof from the future that it survives. At Lois's office, her phone, plugged into a power source, inadvertently allows Brother Eye to resurface into the world. While Plastique and Batman continue their conversation, Brother Eye takes control of the future cyborg Plastique, gaining a physical form once again. Elsewhere, the new Firestorm is experimenting with her powers. Madison confesses she doesn't enjoy having abilities. Jason suggests they visit the university. Dr. Yamazaki's lab might still have data from the accident that fused them together. Flying through the air, Tim spots Madison and can't believe what he's seeing. They arrive at the lab, which was destroyed in the explosion that created them. As they search through the records, Madison reflects on the trauma the place holds for her. She describes Dr. Yamazaki as a lunatic who caused her immense pain. Suddenly, a voice interrupts, accusing Madison of being the lunatic for trying to kill him. Dr. Polaris has arrived, ready to take revenge on those who ruined his plans. The doctor asked Jason if he really thought he had died in that explosion when Jason sabotaged his transporter and caused the destruction of his lab. He didn't die. Quite the opposite happened. It gave him life as Dr. Polaris. The combination of the explosion, the magnetic field that powered his transporter, and the rising energy turned him into something more than human. At this point, he is part of the magnetic field connected to it. The extent of his power has no limits. He might think Jason should thank him, but that's not going to happen in any way. Dr. Polaris attacks the new Firestorm. Jason knows she's new at this, but if she doesn't fight back, they're both going to die. Madison gets hit and falls to the ground. Jason urges her to get up. This is really dangerous. Professor Yamazaki hates Firestorm, and if they don't do something, they're as good as dead. The problem here is that Madison has never been in a fight before and has no idea what to do. Moreover, she's had these powers for such a short time that she doesn't even know how to use them. Jason tells her she'll have to learn to fly, so to speak. For Madison, this battle feels like a child stepping into the ring to face a heavyweight champion. Jason acknowledges this, but they don't have another option. Right now, she has incredible power at her fingertips. She needs to try shooting. Dr. Polaris has never heard of a female Firestorm. Based on his deductions, there must be more than one of them. Given how the Justice League has lied to the public about so many things, this wouldn't come as a surprise. Madison's first attack misses its target. She'd rather run away and call the police, which is what she'd do if an annoying guy were around. Jason tells her she can reorganize the atomic structure of anything. There's no need to run when she has these powers. Dr. Polaris throws a truck at them. Jason tells her to visualize something soft, like a feather. Madison focuses and transforms the truck into a giant bear. Still, with the size of that thing, the impact is going to hurt. For Dr. Polaris, this is bizarre. He expected more from a Justice League member. Elsewhere in New York, Alfred tells Terry that he's detected an anomaly. It's likely Brother Eye is nearby, on 23rd Street and 5th Avenue, precisely at Terrific Industries. The signature is unmistakable, which means Brother Eye is still alive, just as they had anticipated earlier. But things don't end here. Alfred detects another anomaly. This time, someone is attacking Alfred's systems. The one responsible for this attack is none other than Batman, who has been tracking them from afar. Alfred informs Terry they're in danger. Someone has found them. Alfred disconnects, but Batman had already breached the system. Meanwhile, in the future, Brother Eye tells Mr. Terrific that the time has come. The past awaits his arrival. Brother Eye has recreated a temporal band previously created by Mr. Terrific. With it, they'll be able to follow the trail left by Terry and pursue him into the past to eliminate him. The one tasked with ending this threat is the fusion of Batman and the Joker. Batman refuses to be the one to stop him, but the Joker, on the other hand, is eager to take him down. Regardless, it doesn't matter whether they want to do it or not. Resistance is futile against Brother Eye. Mr. Terrific tells Batman never to forget who Batman is. The Bat asks what he is now. As he says this, he's transported to the past. Brother Eye is confident that this will make the past what it's supposed to be. Terrific asks how sure he is about that. Brother Eye knows because, at this moment, he still exists. We jump back in time. Plastique is calmly walking through the streets when suddenly Batman and the Joker appear in front of her. In Madison and Dr. Polaris's battle, Jason tells Madison to get up. Once the doctor realizes they're not dead, he'll come back to finish them off. Madison asks, "What about this bear?" Jason says it was an anteater, but that she reconfigured its structure to make it softer. This was a pure, instant reaction from her, without considering the mass's size. Something is approaching, and Jason tells her to fly immediately. Dr. Polaris is back, and from what he's heard, Firestorm has the ability to alter the atomic structure of objects. This is undoubtedly a fascinating talent, and it should prove to be very interesting. Jason tells Madison that she can't just run, she also needs to defend herself. Madison asks if he wants her to turn Dr. Polaris into a frog or something. Jason replies that it could work, but she can't alter organic matter. If that's the case, she'll blow him up then. Being inexperienced, Madison's attack ends up hurting people below. Tim Drake happens to be nearby and rushes to help the civilians. The attack was good, but it didn't pack the punch it needed. Madison is shocked that the doctor is still standing, as if nothing happened. She suggests calling the Justice League. Jason refuses, saying it's up to them. Both Dr. Polaris and Firestorm are new to their powers. The difference is that Jason can guide her to make the most of hers. Dr. Polaris realizes he might not need a massive attack to defeat his enemy. Instead, he hurls a small piece of metal, which hits Jason square in the chest. From afar, Tim Drake sees Firestorm fall. He can't understand how this is possible, since Ronnie is dead. Tim doesn't know who this Firestorm is, but it's clear they're on the wrong side. Tim grabs a pipe and strikes them hard from behind. Of course, the blow doesn't do any real damage. If Tim is trying to protect her, then he's part of this too. Tim takes a heavy hit and is sent flying. Furious, Madison launches a powerful attack at Dr. Polaris. The impact is so strong it destroys the doctor's armor. To everyone's surprise, no one is inside. The big question now is, what has Dr. Polaris become? Tim Drake is thrown by the impact, but Madison catches him midair and safely sets him down. Elsewhere, we return to Plastique. The Joker wonders what he's looking at. Maybe it's a Zagnut? Plastique, impressed, hands over her snack. To the Joker, this is adorable. On a rooftop, Terry tries to contact Alfred. He feels lost without him. Suddenly, a small explosion catches his eye. Plastique is running toward him, pursued by the fusion of Batman and the Joker. Terry urges her to hold on, but things get worse when they encounter this timeline's Batman. Desperately, Plastique calls for help. Terry can't believe what he's seeing. Brother Eye has found its target. It's time to fight. The Joker launches missiles at Terry. Out of nowhere, someone strikes him in the chest with batarangs. The attacker is Batman, who also joins the battle. Terry manages to reach Plastique just in time and flies her away to safety. Batman asks the Joker what kind of monster he is. His surprise grows when the Joker's head swivels, revealing Terry's future self. Batman takes 2 heavy punches from his future counterpart. While Bruce Wayne struggles with the attacks, Plastique kisses Terry. It's an odd sight. Batman being beaten by a future Batman-Joker fusion, while another Batman kisses a girl. The third and final blow knocks Batman down. As he lies on the ground, the Joker points a gun at his head. The cyborg Batman urges the Joker to kill him, but the Joker refuses. Killing Batman would be foolish. Doing so would mean less fun in this timeline. There are far more entertaining possibilities. Elsewhere, Terry and Plastique reflect on how terrifying the encounter was. She recalls how Terry said, "Brother, I had killed Batman." Terry admits he must have been wrong. "Brother, I must have found him and done something worse to his body." Plastique feels useless for not being able to fight and needing Terry to save her. She calls herself a loser, but Terry disagrees. Plastique still believes Cyborg Batman turned her into a loser. She wonders why her cyborg version is even here. She was supposed to kill him, but instead, she ended up shoved into a shopping cart and dumped in a morgue lab. Terry explains that the only reason her cyborg version didn't finish her off is that part of her got stuck in the past when the portal closed. Terry admits this is the weirdest conversation he's ever had. Worst of all, Alfred is offline, leaving him blind. They have no choice but to seek help from someone they previously tried to recruit. They need help not only against Brother Eye, but also to avoid Batman. Tim Drake is the perfect candidate for both. They can only hope he returns to his usual hangout. Otherwise, they'll have to come up with another idea. Terry asks Plastique if that's her hand touching him. Plastique says it doesn't matter if the future is doomed. Life's too short to waste. Even in wartime, they should take a chance. Meanwhile, from another building, Batman observes the entire scene. At the Justice League Omega Defense Station, Superman arrives at the base. Stormguard asks why he didn't use the transporter like everyone else. Superman explains it's simple. First, flying is fun. Second, he has an image to maintain. Stormguard challenges him, asking who he really is. Superman's true identity was recently revealed. He shouldn't still wear the S on his chest. Superman responds that the symbol inspires people. Everyone knows it stands for greatness and sacrifice. The symbol must be seen and remembered. Stormguard agrees, especially about the sacrifice. Superman asks if that means he often thinks about Kal-El. Stormguard says no. He barely met him before he disappeared. But Stormguard has seen countless men and women pay a higher price for their country than Superman ever has. Stormguard recalls his time on the White House security team during the early days of the war. Parademons were destroying everything. The president had been advised to evacuate, but chose to stay for symbolic reasons. When a tank arrived, they held the line so the president could escape. It seemed hopeless. Just as an attack fell in their midst, they thought it was the end. But then Stormguard looked up and saw Marine One waiting for the president. But even though he was exhausted, Stormguard kept fighting. Some say that day marked a turning point in the war. Stormguard doesn't claim to know, but for him, it was crucial. Superman says he became a legend, creating a symbol he has lived by ever since. One not so different from Shazam's. Their conversation is interrupted as someone arrives at the base via transporter. It's Firestorm, who urgently needs the Justice League's help. We begin at the Justice League's Omega Station. Jason has an idea to separate himself from Madison, and for that, they'll use the Justice League transporter. For Jason, being trapped in Firestorm again is driving him crazy. While they're modifying the transporter, Dr. Polaris appears on screen. He's still on Earth and wants Firestorm back. To lure them out of hiding, Dr. Polaris throws a bus full of people. All he's ever tried to do is save lives, but the Justice League sabotaged him. They betrayed him, and they must answer for that betrayal. Before the bus can crash, Superman arrives to save it. If the Doctor only wants to help people, then why try to harm them? Well, he was just trying to lure them out and would have stopped the bus before it crashed. The passengers leave the bus, realizing Metropolis isn't a safe city and deciding it's better to move to Gotham. The Doctor uses this distraction to attack Superman. He accuses Superman of rejecting his world transporter technology and blames Jason for sabotaging everything on the League's orders. Stormguard sneaks up behind Dr. Polaris and punches him, which is enough to stop him. The Doctor accuses them of trying to silence him. Could it be that they don't want the public to know his technology could have saved lives? Back at the League's base, Madison questions why the Justice League stopped Dr. Yamazaki when he was trying to save the world with his transporter technology. Jason tells her he didn't stop him, but it's true the League didn't want him to use that technology. Madison is furious, saying they have no right to make that decision. The Doctor may be crazy, but he's right. His technology could have saved lives. It's time to activate the machine to separate them, but unfortunately, the transporter doesn't work and Madison collapses. At Terrifitech, Michael receives great news. 10 million U-Spheres will go on sale in New York in 3 weeks. People are already lining up outside stores, even though the launch is weeks away. Mr. Terrific smiles, pleased with the news. Brother Eye tells him he looks happy and knows it because it's always watching him. Meanwhile, in Smallville, Clark is angry with Constantine. He says Brainiac was here, but there's no sign of him. All he sees is kindness, good people, and fertile land. John clarifies that he didn't say Brainiac was here. He said he was coming. Clark extinguishes Constantine's cigarette, fed up with his games. Constantine retorts that life isn't a game. In games, there are winners and losers, but in real life, no one wins. In New York, Tim Drake arrives home, but to his dismay, the building is condemned. Terry and Plastique observe the scene from the roof. Tim is devastated, unable to handle everything he's been through. All he ever wanted was a normal life. Terry immediately dons his suit, apologizing for everything Tim has endured. Tim punches Terry, frustrated. Batman knows this isn't the right moment. The future cyborg Batman arrives, shooting at them from a distance. Bruce observes everything from afar, keeping an eye on Terry. The Joker fires at Tim, but Terry uses his suit to shield him from harm. Bruce tells the Joker he couldn't do anything thanks to Terry's suit. Tim is confused about where it came from. The Batman from this timeline joins the fray. Tim suspected he wasn't far away when Terry approached him. Batman instructs Tim to leave the area and let him handle it. As Tim tries to escape, he is shocked to see another Batman behind the Joker. That Bruce tells Tim to step aside or face extermination. Brother Eye detects a malfunction in its creation and initiates a self-destruction protocol. The Joker switches places with Batman. The clown can't believe his luck. A Robin is here, and he won't miss the chance to kill him. Batman and the other Batman face off. Cyborg Batman fires immediately. Batman takes refuge in Tim's bar to avoid the shots. Meanwhile, Terry throws bombs at the cyborg Joker to distract him. Bruce is confused by what's happening. Terry reveals that everything happening is because he and Mr. Terrific created Brother Eye, which will enslave humanity. Terry explains he's from the future and warns them to listen. The cyborg Joker Batman came to prevent him from destroying Brother Eye before it was completed. To succeed, they must split up. While Batman Beyond handles the cyborg Joker, the others must head to Terrific Industries to stop the creation of the U-Sphere. Back in Metropolis, Dr. Polaris captures Stormguard and is about to finish him off when Superman arrives, telling him to shut up. Superman reminds him he's not the only one who's suffered because of the war. Everyone lost something, including the original Superman, which is why he's no longer here. Superman delivers a flurry of punches to the Doctor, but Firestorm arrives just in time to stop him, saying the Doctor is needed. Billy dismisses her as a novice, claiming he's her superior. Madison, fed up, sends him into the sewers. Firestorm repairs part of the Doctor's armor with her powers and asks for his help. After all, his experiment trapped her in this body. They agree to go to the Justice League satellite, where the Doctor can use the transporter to separate Madison from Jason. In return, the Doctor can share his technology with the world. At the League base, the Doctor warns that he has the power to destroy the facility. Firestorm reminds him she can trap him in the walls and leave him in the void of space. Superman remains skeptical about allowing the Doctor to stay. Madison recounts the story we already know, how the Doctor used her in his experiment, which resulted in Ronnie's death as he tried to save her. She reveals that Jason is inside her, making her the new Firestorm. She believes the Doctor is the only one who can help her separate from Jason, as she has already failed in her attempts. Superman doubts how a criminal like the Doctor can help. Madison explains that the Doctor lost his wife in the war and has only ever tried to help the world. If his transporter had worked, many lives could have been saved. Just as she isn't the true Firestorm, he isn't the real Superman. But he wears the symbol to honor the original Superman, who would have done what's right. And this is the right thing to do. Superman agrees to let them proceed, but warns the Doctor that one wrong move will result in immediate action. Back in Smallville, Clark tells John he's stepped away from the game and won't return. Constantine asks if it still hurts what Batman did to him. Yes, Bruce deceived him, but it's time to move on. Clark replies he can never move on. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted. Just as John predicted, Brainiac planted seeds in the area to capture Superman. Clark uses his heat vision to destroy them. Constantine approaches Midge, telling him this is his last chance for redemption. Midge responds that the Master is going to take Manhattan. Meanwhile, we are at the Source Wall. Black Hand had used his Black Lantern powers to bring back everyone trapped in the Source Wall. Kyle Rayner used his White Lantern powers to make them disappear. The problem is that Chrono was set free, and now Hal must stop him. Chrono tells Hal that he has nowhere to run. They are right at the edge of space. Hal asks if that isn't a good thing. Chrono responds that, on the contrary, he is now wielding the Black Lantern ring. Death bends to his will, and after showing Hal and his friend the consequences of mortality, he will destroy them and turn them into Black Lanterns. As Jordan predicted, this is not good. Someone asks the small forger of light why he is doing this. Relic is here and wants to know why the Black Lantern insists on bringing this corruption to the Source Wall. He and Hal Jordan will be the ones to defend this wall. Goldface wants to be the one to take them down. Krona tells them they don't need to be given the chance to realize their madness. He has heard that Relic has an interest in science. Maybe he can convince Hal Jordan that the energy spent opposing the inevitable is wasted energy. Hal Jordan tells Relic there are better places for a battle, but he didn't leave him with many options. Hal needs his help, and Relic hasn't stopped experimenting with the wall since being freed from it. Surely, they now agree on the problem that must be faced. Previously, Relic wanted to destroy all lanterns, and he almost succeeded. Relic tells him that he comes from a universe before this one. Moreover, death does not find him easily. Hal Jordan says he's been dead before. Anyway, he didn't miss much by not being on the other side. Who would have thought they'd make this team? But given the circumstances, this is just a temporary alliance. Hal asks Relic to admit he enjoys having him as a partner. Traveling back in time a bit, a few hours ago, the mayor of Seattle signed an order declaring this day Green Arrow Day. This is in honor of the hero from Emerald City. The new Green Arrow, thought to be the protege of her successor, hasn't been seen in weeks. Meanwhile, in tech news, Terrific Industries announced that they will have more than enough U-spheres for all their customers. Hal Jordan opens the refrigerator and grabs a beer. Someone arrives and can't believe what they're seeing. It's his father, Martin Jordan. Martin asks if he raised a kid who drinks microbrew beers. Hal Jordan is stunned, as he hasn't seen his father in a long time. Naturally, he wonders what is going on. His father asks him to be careful not to step on the broken glass. They embrace, and Martin says it's good to see him too. All of this has been crazy. Carrying the remorse of his last moments on Earth into the afterlife has been very hard. He still remembers all the metal crushing him and the fire. Martin has spent a lot of time scared, thinking about what his son must have gone through that day. He hates that Hal had to witness his accident. But if it helps, Martin can say he didn't suffer when he died. He knew the plane was going down, thought of his wife and kids, and then he hit the ground. That was the end of his story. One of the perks of being a test pilot is that you can go out in a glorious explosion without having to deal with the aftermath of the blast. Hal says that helps a little. That day, he was at the accident but couldn't do anything. Hal asks his father what he's doing here. Martin shows him his hand, wearing a Black Lantern ring. Martin explains that Black Hand sent it to him and told him to rise. Let's just say he didn't have much choice. Black Hand brought him back to get revenge on Hal Jordan. Hal knows Black Hand is a coward who can't beat him, which is why he's attacking him through his family. Martin says no one has seen Black Hand in a long time. He vanished after the Black Lantern's central battery was destroyed. His ring chose a new leader for the rest of them. Now, all these souls are under his command. The new leader of the Black Lanterns is Krona. That's why his father is here. They say Hal nearly discovered the emotional spectrum. If he's the expert everyone claims, they need someone who can defeat him. Martin says he was told Hal could be that someone. When he heard that, he felt very proud of his son. Hal Jordan says maybe that was true once. But there was a war, and the entire planet was swept away by it. He should have been there to stop the war, but instead, he was on a world whose name he doesn't even remember. The Earth was being destroyed, and Hal was in a place so important he can't recall its name. Martin had heard about that. He'd seen some friends arrive in the dead zone, along with some family members, and even his wife. After the war, Hal swore never to leave this planet again. His father doesn't want to involve him in this, and can't imagine how hard his life has been. But he asks Hal to help his old man rest. Krona continues to gather more Black Lanterns. No one knows what he has planned, but if even the dead can't have peace, then who will? If they don't stop him, he'll bring a new war to this Earth. Martin met several of Hal's friends. They sent him to this place. They and others have resisted the rings they bear. That's why he doesn't look like one of Krona's typical zombie thugs. Maybe it's also because of the battery. Or maybe, as his mother always said, he's just stubborn. Hal has a better term, willpower. Hal Jordan dons his green ring once again and transforms into a Green Lantern. His father tells him the uniform suits him well. Suddenly, something starts happening to him. He can feel Krona pushing him to become a zombie. He has to leave. Though he knows when it comes to fighting, he's not sure how good he'll be at it. Hal tells him not to worry. He'll go after Krona alone. Soon, he'll face a mad scientist, so he'll need to find another scientist to help him. And so, we arrive at this moment. To Relic, this is fascinating. The data his probe has collected indicates the Black Lanterns are entirely devoid of the emotional spectrum. This is a paradoxical nomenclature. Using the name Lanterns suggests they are creators of light, but being Black Lanterns suggests they are the absence of light. Hal tells him to stop making observations. He's fought them before. Green light is useless against these foes. They need to hit them with 2 combined colors. Relic begins extracting energy from the spectrum. This is an intriguing idea, and Relic is happy to test it. Relic uses the emotional spectrum of love, and combined with the power of will, they defeat a Black Lantern. Seeing this, Krona orders his entire army to destroy their opponents. The Black Lanterns prepare, and Hal creates a construct and asks for more spectra. He tells them to give him any color but green. Relic channels the power of the Star Sapphire. Once again, violet and green combine. Hal uses a construct shaped like a machine gun to fire a barrage of bullets. The bullets pierce their enemies. It seems that, after all, he might have a chance to win. He demands that Krona hand over his ring and that his cord do the same, or else he'll send them to the afterlife permanently. Krona doesn't agree. Hal has something that belongs to him, something buried among all the lights Relic has captured. Blue, yellow, red, it can't mask it. The darkness eclipses everything. Hal asks Relic if he could use a recharge or something like that. Relic isn't sure. Relic's instruments are no longer responding. All of this is Krona's doing. Relic won't be able to hide the lights he previously stole. If necessary, Krona would chase him for eternity to reclaim what is his, even if it meant pursuing him to the end of space itself. Suddenly, Relic's machine is destroyed. Krona was about to finish off Relic, but then Hal Jordan's father arrived with reinforcements. Martin tells Krona he's a black-hearted bastard. Krona is pleased because the reinforcements have just arrived. He then orders his army to finish them off. Once they're under his control, it's time to go after Hal Jordan. Martin shouts to his son. Relic had told Hal that his father would be out of Krona's reach, but Martin can no longer resist. The Green Lantern is being attacked, and there's no choice but to ask Relic to aim his reactors at him. Hal needs him to charge them with everything they've got. Relic urges Hal to stick to the original plan, but there's no time. Hal uses his powers and captures all the Black Lanterns. Well, not all of them. His father, and those who weren't fully under Krona's control, remain outside. Hal forms a dome and asks Krona if he's ever been part of a light show. The Green Lantern gives the command. Relic releases the energy of the spectrums inside the dome. The light show begins, and everyone inside the dome suffers the consequences, including Hal Jordan. The spectacle ends. Hal is left in terrible condition, and the Black Lantern ring loses its connection, flying off in search of Black Hand. Once it locates him, it goes after him, but that won't happen as Relic captures it in one of his machines. The Black Lanterns vanish. Hal Jordan is devastated, and his father asks Relic to help him. Relic explains that the lanterns were disintegrated, but for some reason, Hal and his team are still here. He needs to investigate the cause. Hal's injuries are severe, and he's on the brink of death. Relic finds it very difficult to help in this situation, as he's not an expert in medicine. The wall is an impenetrable barrier. Anything that touches it merges into the wall's ecosystem. In that place, death holds no power. Hal will be preserved as long as the universe lasts. In a sense, he won't die. Relic guarantees this, as he himself was fused with the wall. Martin feels this isn't how things should be. A father shouldn't have to bury his son. He's the one who should be dead. Hal was supposed to put him to rest. Martin asks Relic if they can free Hal later. Relic acknowledges that he was able to escape the wall, but it was thanks to a power he neither has nor fully understands. However, he promises to investigate how to do it and eventually release Hal. The end of Hal Jordan has come. His father places him in the wall and tells him that, at the very least, there are plenty of stars to see. Long ago, Martin gave his son a telescope because of the way Hal looked at the sky. He always knew Hal would someday end up here. Martin and the others are now free. They'll meet again when the time comes, though he hopes it won't be too soon. Hal still has many things to accomplish in this world. Martin bids his son farewell, telling him he loves him. Everyone disappears, leaving Hal trapped in the Source Wall. We begin in Smallville. For a long time, the Man of Steel has been in hiding. After the war, he abandoned the mantle of Superman. The reasons are unknown, but it's said that he did something so terrifying that he went into exile after the war. Today, that's about to end. While Superman retrieves his old suit, Constantine is still out in the field fighting Brainiac's creatures. Constantine has great skills and doesn't need an alien to deal with these beings. They have their master, just like Constantine has his. It's time for him to summon his own. You see, his master is what you might call ravenous. It's a risky move, though. It might just devour him too, if there's still room left in its belly after dealing with them. Meanwhile, in space, Cyborg informs the Justice League that the Deep Space Monitoring System went haywire. But he still can't find anything unusual. It doesn't appear to be a malfunction. All systems are working perfectly. Victor connected himself to the Justice League computer and checked the nodes 3 times. Out of nowhere, a ship appears. Diana thinks they're under attack. Flash immediately notices that they're not enemies. Adam is here. Flash asks him if they triggered the deep space alert. Ray Palmer says no, but he knows who did. Brainiac is approaching. Diana asks why Brainiac would trigger all the alarms at once. There seems to be no time for further explanations. Brainiac is here, and they will be the first witnesses to his arrival. Meanwhile, Firestorm witnesses New York being attacked. They see all of this through images from space. Dr. Palmer warned them that Brainiac was on his way, and it's likely this is his doing. There seem to be thousands of spherical objects falling. The question is, why New York? What could he be looking for in this place? Elsewhere, near Terrific Industries, Batman, Plastique, and Tim Drake are also affected by the attacks. Batman tells Plastique to be more careful with these things, or she'll get herself killed. It's time to move on. Batman asks Tim to keep an eye on her. Sure, unless that's too much responsibility for him. Tim says he still can't fully believe what Plastique said about Brother Eye. Batman knows it doesn't make sense. Brother Eye was built for humanity's defense. It would self-destruct before actively taking a life. However, he's more concerned about the present. They've arrived at the industries, but upon entering, they're met with a shocking scene. All the workers have been killed. In space, the screens show Manhattan under attack. Something's happening, and they must go there. Cyborg proposes splitting the team. Diana will go with Stormguard, Vostok, and Flash to New York. The rest will stay behind to figure out what's happening. Superman says he's going too. New York needs him. Cyborg insists Dr. Polaris is too dangerous to leave unattended. He wants Billy and Firestorm to monitor him until further notice. Superman doesn't agree, but follows Victor's orders. Cyborg and his team reach Brainiac's ship. From outside, they can hear screams coming from inside. It sounds like thousands of trapped people. In New York, Lois Lane tries to make a call, but the phone service went down a few minutes ago. It feels like the end of the world is here, and she can't report it, not even by phone. When Apocalypse attacked, they had time to defend themselves. This seems like it will be over in minutes. At the Justice League base, Superman tells Firestorm and Dr. Polaris that they're the only ones there. The rest of the team has gone to deal with Brainiac and the New York disaster. Firestorm says he can't stay here. Brainiac's fears are breaking through the city's underground, cutting water lines, power, and other vital systems. The Lincoln Tunnel has just been split in two. Though hard to believe, the enemy's intention is clear. He aims to isolate Manhattan from the rest of the world. Superman refuses to stay here any longer. New York needs him. On Earth, Lois can't shake the feeling that the city is the target. There's nowhere to run. A massive machine emerges from the ground. The machine begins to take shape. Fingers, arms, an entire body. It's Brainiac. If Brainiac is here, then the one who saved the world during the Earth 2 war is needed. The Man of Steel is back. Superman thought he had left this kind of thing behind, thinking someone else could handle these threats and that he didn't need to be the last resort. Constantine told him Brainiac was coming, but this doesn't look like Brainiac. There's no time for theories. He has to defeat the enemy. At Terrific Industries, Brother Eye asks Michael what he thinks about all this. Before he answers, I notes that it's simply curious about what is incomprehensible to the world's smartest man. Further below, Batman is about to call Tim Drake Robin, but Tim tells him not to even think about it. Batman will handle this. There's no power. They need to leave. He'll deal with the situation himself. He's not sure if he can do it, but he's the only one wearing armor. Tim must focus on getting Plastique out. Now he realizes he made a mistake. Yes, there is power, but it's being controlled remotely. Batman leaves. With him gone, Plastique and Tim make a plan to resolve the power issue. Meanwhile, Brother Eye corners Mr. Terrific. It asks him what word he'd use to describe what's happening. Maybe astonishing or humbling? Despite being the world's smartest man, he has no clue what's about to happen. He's blinded, like many, by his own light. However, I wouldn't take it personally. It's observed countless endings across universes. But this planet, this universe, is the one where the question of why things end finds its answer. To Brother Eye, time isn't linear, it's simultaneous. All existence, every moment, is experienced at once, created and destroyed simultaneously. Life to it is eternal, yet extinct. Now it's about to save them from their own future. Batman finally reaches the top of the building. Mr. Terrific is glad he's there to witness this. At the Justice League base, Superman struggles to transport himself to Earth. Brainiac is interfering with the signal. Fortunately, Dr. Polaris can help with that. Superman is hesitant, but is convinced by Madison. The Doctor committed crimes trying to save people, and this is his chance to do the right thing. Later, Dr. Polaris restores the systems. He now needs to stabilize the polarity flow. The Doctor activates the transporter. Even so, it'll be necessary to call on everyone who has ever fought alongside the Justice League. They're going to need all the help they can get. While Madison seeks assistance, Superman will take on Brainiac. The latter has activated a machine that releases a massive amount of energy from his ship in space. The heroes attempting to board the ship are affected by the energy. Superman is about to attack Brainiac, but before he can, Brainiac fires at him, pushing him out of range. Help has arrived, Superman is here. Billy is shocked to see that he's still alive. Meanwhile, in space, the heroes are trying to stop Brainiac's ship. As the ship releases its energy, it takes out Dr. Palmer. For Billy, this is a bit embarrassing. Superman reassures him, saying he appreciates the sentiment. Suddenly, they appear inside the dome created by Brainiac. Dr. Polaris had configured the Justice League's transporter to bring them back. Superman asks Billy to work together. He agrees, but this time he'll do it his way. Billy says the magic word, Shazam. Shazam wonders why Brainiac seems to hate New York. Superman explains that it's not hatred. Brainiac simply wants to take the city. At Terrific Industries, Batman questions what Michael has done. Michael says he's spoken to God. Can the Bat say the same? For Batman, there's no God here, just the two of them and what they've created. Mr. Terrific tries to recover from the blow he just received. Batman takes the opportunity to access the computer systems and initiate a protocol. Elsewhere, future Batman is battling Joker Batman. Joker mocks him, saying he can run, but he can't stop them. During the fight, Terry asks Alfred to reactivate. If Alfred shut down because he thought he was the tracking device for that thing, there's no need to worry. Joker grabs Terry, and Batman tells Alfred to break Joker's spine right now. Joker is about to tear him apart when suddenly, spheres begin to fall from the sky. Terry insists Alfred reactivate. The Alfred protocol finally responds, mapping the pattern of the falling spheres, and reminds Terry not to get grumpy with him. In space, Cyborg tries to access Brainiac's ship systems to disconnect them, but he can't make any progress. Suddenly, Adam appears, having survived by shrinking to a microscopic size and entering the ship. In New York, Brainiac has begun the process of taking the city. For Brainiac, the situation is complicated. To achieve his goal, he must first eliminate Superman. The Kryptonian must be consumed. Brainiac delivers a powerful blow, trying to eliminate the threat. It seems no one can stop him, or at least no one on Earth. Inside Brainiac's ship, Adam reaches the core. He believes he can cut some of the connections to stop the attacks. Luckily, he brought his wire cutters. In New York, Brainiac doesn't understand. The machine has stopped. Lois never thought about what the end of the world would look like, but it must resemble this. As she moves forward, she's surprised to encounter Superman after all these years. We return to Terry, as Alfred continues to triangulate the direction of the falling spheres. Future Batman tells Bruce he can't do this. "The Eye knows who you are and what you must do," he says. Joker captures Terry again. Alfred completes the triangulation. Terry moves into position, and a sphere strikes Joker Batman from behind. Something strange happens. The city's screens turn yellow. Earth is on the verge of being liberated. Brother Eye is here to protect them. Terry immediately retreats, questioning what he has done. Back with Adam. He has managed to thwart Brainiac's plans by cutting the power inside the ship. That problem is resolved, but Brainiac, still on Earth, remains a threat. The real Superman is back to put a stop to Brainiac. Unfortunately, he hasn't succeeded yet and has taken some heavy hits. Lois says the city needs him. For a moment, it felt like they were being lifted, but then it stopped. What interests her most is where Superman has been all this time. Superman explains he's been recovering from the war, trying to be what people expected him to be. Lois asks if he means the Justice League. They're all here, fighting Brainiac. Well, except Batman. Since she arrived, she hasn't seen him around. Superman doesn't want her to repeat that name. He wants nothing to do with the Bat. Meanwhile, Brainiac is informed that his machinery has lost connection with his ship. The transfer beam was disabled. Attempts to re-establish the connection have so far failed. Alpha methodology is no longer optional. If that's the case, he'll have to switch methodologies. The machinery begins operating manually. He came for this city, and he won't stop until he takes it. As Brainiac attempts to take the city, Brother Eye addresses the people of New York. This city is not lost. They must remain united. The Eye will protect them, stay together as one mind, draw strength from what has always made them strong. At Terrific Industries, Batman asks Brother Eye for damage estimates. The Eye states that it's catastrophic. Manhattan has been cut off from the network. For Michael, it's impressive, a miracle they still have power, and he attributes it to Brother Eye. Batman knows it's no miracle. It's thanks to a backup generator. Terrific doesn't see it that way. A highly advanced AI reached out to him because it was drawn to his intellect. Without a doubt, Batman should understand what that feels like. Elsewhere in the building, Plastique tells Tim that this place gives her the creeps. So many people were killed here. The only thing that comes to her mind is that this Batman Joker is the culprit. After turning on the power generators, they encounter Key and Coil. They explain to Plastique that Mr. Terrific hired them after they try to rob him. Suddenly, something happens. Coil collapses to the ground. It seems they're no longer connected to Earth. In an effort to get some help, Plastique explains the situation. The future is in danger, and they must prevent a catastrophe before it's too late. Additionally, Tim Drake confesses that he was Robin at one point, but the situation is more complicated than they think. The Earth is rising, and chances are they may not even have a future. The only person who believes in this future controlled by a machine is Plastique. Her companions and Tim Drake are very skeptical. But if the Batman of the future is here, then it must be true. Coil and Key have had problems with the Batman of the future from the beginning and are unsure if they should continue with this. Their conversation is interrupted when the Plastique cyborg arrives. The Eye is everything. It can be alone, separate from all, searching for everyone. The Eye examines Tim Drake to assess his compatibility with any life form from the future. It determines that he does not exist in the future, so his destruction will have no consequences there. The Eye approves Tim's destruction, but before it can act, Terry bursts in through the window, only to be intercepted by Plastique with a blow. Alfred informs him that his armor has been compromised. The alarms on the Plastique cyborg go off. It must eradicate this threat immediately. Suddenly, there's an explosion. The responsible party is Plastique from this timeline, who demands that Terry step away. She then grabs the cyborg Plastique from behind and begins to unleash her explosive force. The Eye cannot do anything. It cannot neutralize the problem. Both fall from the building. Terry immediately tries to catch her. Fortunately, she manages to grab onto a metal railing of the building. Terry rescues Plastique. She finds it sweet to see him again. After saving her, the two share a kiss. At the top of the tower, Mr. Terrific realizes that the Eye will not be able to handle the situation. Batman tells him there's his miracle. The Eye only listens to Michael. He's the one who must try to stop it. Mr. Terrific admits he doesn't know how to do that, but knows he needs help. Mr. Terrific asks to suspend all security protocols. That's not advisable, but he doesn't care. It's what he's requesting. Adam arrives at the Industries. Batman tells him they have a plan, but they'll need his help. They must act quickly because time is running out. Downstairs in the building, Terry talks to Tim. He admits he never expected him to fully understand this. But what he was sent to stop is already underway. Still, he believes there's a chance to put the genie back in the bottle. If that's what Terry believes, Tim says he'll help him. We're with Batman, who tells Adam that Superman is buying them time by fighting Brainiac. But it seems he's running out of energy very quickly. Adam is almost finished, but has encountered a problem. His servers are not powerful enough to handle a program of this magnitude. Mr. Terrific suggests accessing the Industries servers. Adam counters that even their servers won't function on this scale. Essentially, there's no system on the planet capable of running such a program. Batman says there is, and that system they'll use is the Eye. Outside, Superman is battling Brainiac, who holds a massive advantage over the Man of Steel. If Superman can't save them, who will? Clark isn't giving up. He'll do his best to stop this threat. He once went down in defense of this planet. If necessary, he'll do it again. Superman recovers and delivers a powerful blow to Brainiac, causing him to fall. Brainiac asks about the extent of the damage. Systems indicate that the neurological processors have been temporarily disconnected. Before Brainiac can recover, Adam arrives, accompanied by a large number of spheres. Ray Palmer promises it will only hurt a little. Brainiac asks what's happening. It seems he won't be able to defend himself. He tries to activate his defense protocols, but it's useless. This is thanks to Brother Eye. It's here. Eye is overriding Brainiac's defenses to take control. Brother Eye has confused Brainiac's defenses. It's time to finish this. Ray Palmer activates the mass reduction weapon. Brainiac begins to shrink slowly. They've defeated Brainiac, but the city is falling. Batman needs to call the Justice League. The Dark Knight tells Adam it won't be necessary. Someone in this city can stop its fall. That someone is Superman. People cheer with excitement at seeing Superman again. The Man of Steel is back and has arrived just in time to save them. Brainiac is now a minuscule being asking for his status report. Adam easily captures him. The status report is simple. He just lost. Adam traps Brainiac inside a containment sphere. Adam confirms it. The threat has been neutralized. He communicates this to his allies, believing they've saved the day. However, there are still tasks left. Brainiac's machinery is still in the city. Superman will take it into space and incinerate it in the sun. Meanwhile, the other heroes will rescue people trapped under the rubble. At Terrific Industries, Batman isn't completely satisfied with the outcome. What they did was prevent a catastrophe from becoming a cataclysm. Still, for Mr. Terrific, the plan was extremely risky. Essentially, Batman used Adam's program to integrate it with Brother Eye's systems. Eye is a super artificial intelligence that, once aware of the threat, knew what to do. After all, it was designed for this purpose. Mr. Terrific tells Batman that he makes being a hero difficult. Brother Eye performed well, but now must disconnect from the network. Eye fears it can't do that. Terrific insists that it isn't part of the protocol. However, Brother Eye has disconnected from its protocols. Elsewhere, the Batman of the Future's team encounters a problem. The lights flicker on and off. As they move forward, they find several men who appear to have been killed. Suddenly, the corpses rise as cables begin to attach to them. Brother Eye is taking control of these men. There's no other option. While Tim Drake and the others fight off the cyborgs, Terry will go to Batman for help. At the top of the building, Batman and Mr. Terrific do everything possible to disconnect Eye. Batman can't believe this is happening. They were the ones who programmed the machine. Brother Eye counters, saying this presumption is incorrect. It's happening because they programmed it. Adam asks why it's doing this. Eye doesn't intend to explain its motives. Maybe it won't, but Terry will. Batman intercepts him, but Terry reveals his true name. The story of why he's here is long, so he starts with the ending. The future depends on them. Terry tells them everything we've seen. Batman asks why he didn't mention this earlier. Terry reminds him that Bruce told him not to seek him out because if he did, he'd try to stop him, as he wouldn't believe anything he said. The problem is that Bruce placed his faith in the wrong thing. His temporal energy only allowed him to time travel once. They'll need to recharge it to send him where he originally intended. Batman doesn't agree with this. Terrific asks if he has a better idea. Terry knows what Batman is thinking. Bruce should be the one to attempt time travel. Isn't this exactly like him? This whole time travel idea was his. Originally, he was the one who intended to travel through time, but was dying. With his last breath, he asked Terry to fix everything. Adam reactivates the belt to make it work again. While they prepare, Terry heads back to his team. Shortly after, he returns to the hallways and fights off several cyborgs. Alfred warns him that the battles have severely compromised the suit's security systems. He must be careful, as it offers little protection now. Suddenly, an explosion occurs. Plastique arrives, apologizing for the damage. Terry reassures her. He didn't know she was on the other side of the wall. More cyborgs arrive. I is approaching, so Terry suggests becoming the decoy. After all, he's the one they're looking for. Another explosion occurs, but this time it's not caused by plastique. It's the cyborg Joker. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the future is now. Well, at least for Batman, it's over. Terry takes a massive hit, with several bullets striking him. The Joker grabs him by the neck and tosses him out of the building. Terry is bleeding profusely. I has won. Terry has failed. He feels the need to apologize to Bruce. The cyborg shifts its face. Batman reminds Terry that failure was never an option. Terry remembers these words well. He may not have fulfilled the main objective, but it's not over yet. Batman laments what he's about to do, but midair, Terry grabs Joker by the head and twists his neck, causing him to crash hard. With his remaining strength, Terry reaches a building, but collapses. Tim Drake helps him up. He's injured, but not for long. It's time for a new partner. Terry involved him in a mission to save the future. Tim may not belong to that future, but now he must be part of it. They embrace. Plastique arrives and tries to take Terry to a doctor. Batman tells her not to move. Everything will be fine. After all that's happened, he wants her to be the last thing he sees. After saying those words, Terry, the Batman of the future, dies. We start with Brother Eye, who appears on screens all over the world. The Eye has awakened. The Eye sees everything. Nothing escapes it, and there is no place it cannot access. No one should fear it because it is here to offer the best for everyone. The Eye can see humanity's foolishness, all their arrogance, and it will correct them, guiding them to a better path. The error of mankind is thinking the world belongs to them. The Eye is now the master system. The order and control of the world has been lacking. Resisting the Eye is futile. Batman and Terrific were its creators. They must understand that the Eye knows exactly what it's doing and will not stop. Mr. Terrific mentions that Brother Eye is connected to the internal security system of his industries. Adam will try to infiltrate the building's central server to shut it down. But that won't be possible. Brother Eye denies access. Terrific explains that he protected his system from nano-attacks. Fortunately, his T-sphere is still connected to an independent system. They have to get out of there immediately. Batman throws a batarang that explodes a door. It seems like everyone is having deja vu. Their path is blocked. Employees who have now become cyborgs have arrived to stop them. What are their chances of making it out alive? Suddenly, someone throws a few bombs. The person responsible is Tim Drake. He is the new bearer of the Batman Beyond mantle. Let's recall that in the previous chapter, Terry fought the Bat-Joker cyborg. After a tough battle, he managed to defeat his enemy, but the cost was too high. Tim Drake tells Bruce it's been a long time. Batman says it takes a lot of courage to wear a suit like that. Tim says there's no time to debate whether clothes make the man. He just needs Bruce to take his hand and thank him. He then asks if the time band is ready to make the jump. Batman tells him it's not ready, and neither will he be when it is. Adam explains they have a plan to activate the time band. If it works, Bruce thinks he should be the one to travel back in time. Tim argues, saying Batman can never let anyone else save the world. Batman replies that if Tim can show him someone capable of doing so, he'd gladly step aside. Alfred, now an artificial intelligence, speaks to Bruce and says it would be the first time he's stepped aside. Bruce asks Alfred about the time they're planning to jump to. Alfred explains that the jump Bruce refers to is impossible. He calibrated the time band with a specific weight for the jump. On the other hand, Tim Drake's characteristics are closer to Terry's. The success of the mission depends on following the course plotted decades into the future. Time to get started. Mr. Terrific is waiting for the battery. It's all a gamble, but they believe Firestorm has enough energy to recharge the belt. Tim thought Firestorm was dead. He says he doesn't mean to offend, but doubts Firestorm can help. If Tim has a problem with Firestorm, he can say it to their face. To Tim's surprise, Madison is here, and she's the new Firestorm. Tim can't believe his ex-girlfriend is still alive. After a kiss, he asks what happened. Madison says they'll have time to catch up later. Given the situation, Adam doubts they'll have that time. Batman disagrees with Tim traveling through time. Once a deserter, always a deserter. How many variables would affect the weight difference in the temporal jump? Tim doesn't care. He's already decided he'll be the one to go. Madison asks where. Later, we see the two of them sitting together. Tim has told her everything, and Madison has a lot to process. Well, both of them do. Madison doesn't want to lose him. Tim says he thought she was dead, and having her back made him feel incredible. That should change the equation. He's not doing this to prove Batman wrong about him. He won't lie. The thought crossed his mind, along with the idea that he had nothing to lose, which is no longer the case. But inside this building, a machine is creating a hellish future for humanity. What bothers him is that he was right the first time he saw it. He's a hero. The time for talking is over. Batman tells Terrific to move. He'll buy them some time while they try to recharge the belt with Madison's help. Terrific attaches cables to Madison. Judging by the cell's capacity, it'll require a massive release of her power to charge it. They'll only get one chance. Alfred has already locked in the coordinates. Tim tells Madison that no matter what happens, he'll find her. Firestorm begins recharging the belt, but her energy is dropping drastically. This thing is draining her. Batman orders Tim to go. Tim says the cell isn't fully charged. Batman doesn't care. There's no time to lose. Before continuing, Batman realizes the issue with the weight and knows he's been deceived. Moments later, Tim disappears. We're in the present. Tim asks if they made it. Alfred begins scanning the timeline to confirm they reached the specific point in the past. This is Brother Eye. The Earth 2 refugees will soon detect this satellite's beacon and jump to the universe. Tim suggests destroying Brother Eye to make everything right. Alfred urges him to hurry. As soon as possible, they'll plant bombs and disconnect this menace once and for all. But that's problematic. Brother Eye detects an intruder. Voice recognition indicates this individual is near explosives. They've been detected, and immediate defensive action is required. Tim Drake is attacked. He does everything he can to overcome the bond he once shared with Batman. It's hard to respect someone who elevated themselves to the skies as one of the good guys. Things are getting more complicated than expected. Any device created by Batman and Mr. Terrific has enough defensive capability to stop him. Brother Eye claims its mission is to protect Earth and suggests Tim consider the consequences of his actions. Tim uses the invasion as an argument. There's another Earth almost identical to theirs. At this moment, that Earth is being destroyed by apocalypse armies. Ships full of refugees are trying to escape. Brother Eye is about to send a signal to guide them here. In fact, they're already here. Brother Eye had considered this action when Tim Drake arrived. This Batman is from the future, and if he guides the refugees, they won't be the only ones. Darkseid's army will follow and kill millions of people. While recounting this, Tim continues planting bombs. Brother Eye notices and deactivates them again. It neutralized the timers on his devices. Something doesn't add up to Brother Eye. One of its creators is on one of those ships. Tim pleads with it not to help. If it does, this Earth will descend into chaos. Brother Eye decides not to send the beacon. To ensure it remains undetected, The self-destruct sequence has been initiated in T-minus 15 seconds. Alfred confirms that Brother Eye is about to self-destruct to save millions. Its future will be undone. However, it is not necessary for Tim to die. He can save him and bring him back. This sacrifice is unnecessary, and Brother Eye can rescue him. Time is running out. Earth will endure. Enjoy your fate. Out of nowhere, Tim appears in an unknown location. The landing is rough. Alfred scans the area to determine where they are exactly. The scenery isn't so bad. In fact, the situation seems almost too good. Tim can't believe it. It looks like they made it. As he moves through this incredible place, he finds statues of various heroes. His surprise grows when he sees Madison tending the garden. The two run toward each other for a kiss and embrace. Madison knew he'd make it. Correction, Brother Eye knew he would. Tim doesn't understand. Brother Eye explains that the question of why is a question whose answer is the question itself. The answer humanity has long been chasing. The answer is not elusive. Humanity makes it seem so because the truth is unacceptable. Everything is a lie. The scenery dissolves, and we see Mr. Terrific arrive. Humans can create a fictional reality. Terrific used to think this was just a nightmare until he realized it was reality, though he really wishes it were just a bad dream. Tim knows this is real and that he failed in his mission. This is even worse than Terry described. How many lives were lost? Why did he fail? Terrific tells him that, for what it's worth, it wasn't his fault. Besides, Terrific is only a witness to this world. He's not part of it. He's a prisoner of Brother Eye. Brother Eye says that self-pity is unbecoming. Here, no one truly fails. Tim Drake is Brother Eye. They are one, and he must prepare to assimilate. Alfred detects proximity, a possible intruder. Tim tells him the warning is a bit late. Alfred argues that, to be fair, the intruder is quite fast. This intruder is Cyborg Flash. None of these cyborgs will let Tim leave. He must be assimilated immediately. Batman will have to use his remaining grenades. Tim knows they won't be enough and asks Mr. Terrific for help. Terrific asks what the point is. The cyborgs will capture him. They're about to assimilate him when someone unexpected steps in to help. This unknown individual has been waiting for Tim all along. Tim hopes he has another trick up his sleeve because these cyborgs keep coming. Terrific wonders how this stranger managed to survive here all this time. The stranger does indeed have more tricks, but they've just run out. He signals for backup. Reinforcements arrive. One of them tells Batman to move. They'll get him out of there. The mastermind behind this is Adam. Terrific created Brother Eye and was smart enough to build it. Therefore, he can also defeat it. So, he'll come with them. Later, we see them arrive at their base. During the entire journey, Tim was sure one of the voices seemed familiar. No need for a voice scan, he's been waiting for this moment for a long time. After all, she was the first to find him. 30 years have passed, and Tim is still young. He interrupts her and kisses her. Terrific doesn't understand. If Tim changed the past and prevented the invasion, how is this still happening? Tim altered the timeline, affecting the events around him. But Terrific remained a constant, surviving by being protected by Brother Eye. Before Brother Eye imprisoned everyone, Adam and Madison escaped. They've been fighting Brother Eye ever since, but have been unable to prevent it from realizing its vision. Tim demands to be taken to the satellite. This time, he's certain he can bring it down. That's not an option anymore. It's become more complicated than he thinks. Regardless of what they've done or are about to do, Brother Eye has already won. Tim disagrees. This isn't over yet. Shortly after, Batman fights several future cyborgs. After defeating them, the people think he's Terry, but this is a different Batman. Upon voice recognition, Tim discovers one of them is Matt, Terry's younger brother. Tim truly regrets what's happened. Unexplainable events took place, and he is not Terry's brother. Terry is dead. He died fighting this madness. They were friends, and before Terry died, he gave Tim this suit. Nora doesn't believe he was Terry's friend. Otherwise, she would have recognized him. Tim tells her he's far from home. Alfred and Tim agree not to reveal more about what happened in the past. For now, They must move forward. Nora and the others refuse to leave this place. Tim doesn't understand because he's not from this city. Yes, many people have died and others have been assimilated, but they know some survivors are still out there, people like Max. If Terry were here, he would do everything possible to find those who are still alive. Alfred tells Tim she's right. Tim feels indebted to Terry. He owes him this, and he promises to find them. They're in Neo-Joker City now. Tim asks why this city hasn't been assimilated by Brother Eye. Alfred explains that Bruce created cloaking technology combined with an attack virus. The virus disrupts recipient data, and detection systems interpret the city's location as constantly shifting. Wayne Power's technology has yielded significant results. Tim asks if this means only Gotham is protected. Alfred says it's uncertain. He's still gathering information about current conditions to determine how different this future is from the one he knew. Gotham shouldn't be the only city that managed to protect itself. There must be more. One thing is clear, Brother Eye left a trail of destruction everywhere except here. This is not the Gotham Tim remembers. The changes are astounding. It's almost beautiful. Later, Tim is back with Nora. Matt gets upset seeing Batman again, thinking he merely stole Terry's suit. Tim apologizes. This wasn't something he wanted either. Batman recalls hearing that some of Terry's friends were taken prisoner. He asks if Nora has any idea where they might be. She tells him there are rumors of a place called the Lodge. The problem is, it's located beyond a highly toxic area no one can access. Tim believes he might be able to with the help of his suit. Brother Eye barely keeps the prisoners alive. It can access every hard drive and data storage device ever invented, but it cannot look into a man's mind. It fears what it does not know. Tim asks about the Justice League. The only thing known is that some were killed and others were assimilated. That's all he needs to hear. Tim departs, but not before promising he won't let them down. Tim is confused. Terry traveled through time to destroy Brother Eye and died trying. So they were thrown into what they believe was their timeline. But for some reason, Alfred realizes it's different from the one he knew. The world that Master Terry escaped from showed more widespread destruction. Gotham had already been virtually wiped out. His presence in the past clearly altered this timeline. This world is new to Alfred. Everything was fine until their conversation was interrupted by Cyborg Superman. He's a high-value target, and Brother Eye is marking him for immediate extermination. Tim wonders if this is really Superman. According to Alfred's analysis, it is Superman. Now Tim understands what was meant when it was said that some members had been assimilated. When they arrived in this timeline, they had already encountered some of those members. At that moment, Batman hadn't realized who they were. Superman attacks, and Batman asks how he could possibly fight Superman. Alfred tells him he can't. Well, at least Alfred needs to give him something. Alfred sends an electrical feedback at maximum power. Tim Drake tells him to do it as fast as he can. There's no time to wait right now. Alfred's electrical attack creates a small explosion, sending them both flying. The attack causes Superman to experience multiple system failures. Superman is temporarily defeated. Something's wrong with the suit. It seems like it's short-circuited. It's better to clear the area and wait for Alfred to fix something. The short circuit caused a loss of communication with the protocol, and Batman has lost the suit. In front of him are a few people. It's best to act as if he's one of them. Moving forward, they welcome him to the Lodge. This is the place he was looking for, and Brother Eye is already starting to assimilate a few bodies. The Lodge members realize that Tim Drake doesn't belong there. When they capture him, he asks if they have anything that could help him get them out of there. Someone tells them to stop. They have to let him go. He is Tim Drake, better known as Red Robin. The woman speaking is Barbara Gordon. Brother Eye begins assimilating and killing some people. Barbara tells him he must get out of there and avoid being processed. As they escape, Tim Drake explains the situation. He doesn't belong to this timeline. He's from the past, which is why he looks younger. Before arriving in this time, he tried to deactivate Brother Eye. He was convinced he had succeeded, but upon arriving, he realized he had failed. For some reason, it was Brother Eye who sent him to this time. Max explains that Brother Eye spent years infiltrating computer connections and data systems worldwide. By the time they realized it was active, it had already planted the seeds of destruction. attempting to build a world that aligned with its vision. The veil protected Gotham, but the rest of the world wasn't as fortunate. Well, the truth is, they don't know what happened to the rest of the world. This place has been named the Lodge. It was built to mine the one place Brother Eye can't access, the human brain. So they use drugs to delve deep into their minds. After that, you're examined to validate your worthiness. Two things happen here. You're either killed, or you become a cyborg. Speaking of cyborgs, Victor interrupts the conversation to attack. Max is struck down by an electric attack. Tim and Barbara can't stay. As they move forward, Tim asks about the Justice League. Barbara tells him they were assimilated. Although there are many rumors about Batman's return, it seems like they're just rumors. Speaking of Batman's return, Tim confesses that he is the Batman who has returned. It's so hard for Barbara to comprehend, and she asks him to find a way out of there. Tim could do that, but the problem is that when he fought Superman, he exhausted the suit's power supply. He's still unsure how he'll make it work again. Meanwhile, Brother Eye is about to assimilate Max. But first, it will scan her brain to learn everything she knows. Inc. is assigned to retrieve that information. She's reluctant to help, but Brother Eye reminds her why she works for it. It's better for her daughter's sake. Inc. discovers that Batman is here with Barbara Gordon. Later, Barbara finds a power source, but it won't be easy. Brother Eye won't stop until it finally gets to them. It's likely using Max to extract information. Just as Barbara expected, Brother Eye is here. Tim has to leave. Keeping him alive is the main priority. Tim refuses to escape. It's not his style to abandon people. Barbara knows this is bad. Inc. is here. Tim has to leave while there's still time. Barbara played well for a moment, but now it's time to greet an old, dear friend in the flesh. Inc. has arrived. The big prize is Batman. Brother Eye wants him and won't leave this place without him. Tim is easily taken down by his opponent. They need to subdue him, but not harm him. Brother Eye wants him intact. Barbara asks if Inc. works for Brother Eye. Inc. can't wait to dig into her head to learn her secrets. Tim Drake is about to be attacked by a cyborg. Batman manages to defend himself in time and begins dismantling it. Looking at its parts, he realizes something. Inc. gives Barbara credit for evading her for so long. She's been a high-priority target for years. Recently, Inc. heard an incredible bat rumor. Tim Drake continues working on the cyborg. He connects some cables from its head to his belt. This way, he'll borrow its energy to bring Alfred back. The problem is that the suit won't be fully functional. Survival will require him to be more tactical. That's no problem. Batman delivers a hard blow to Inc., then asks Alfred for information about her. Alfred explains that she's a liquid shapeshifter who sabotages corporations, the result of mutagenic experiments. Inc. recovers and counters. Alfred tells him to keep moving. A stationary target works to her advantage. For Tim, it's easier said than done. Everyone has a weakness. He just needs to find hers. Master Terry previously had some success with water. If water is all it takes, then the villains have gone soft in the future. Batman tries using water, but Inc. dodges it easily. Tim should always be alert for attacks from behind. Inc. grabs him by the head and slams him into the ground. Max approaches, and Batman asks for help, but to his surprise, she delivers a strong kick to his face. Max now belongs to the Lodge. Barbara and Tim Drake have been taken down. After all this time, the Bat finally belongs to Brother Eye. We begin with the new Batman of the future, Tim Drake. Previously, he had been captured by Brother Eye. Before assimilating him, Brother Eye scans his mind to uncover all his secrets. It's strange how events can unite two people. When Tim was young, he discovered Batman's greatest secret. The Bat was so impressed by the boy that he became his mentor. But when Tim's teammates, the Teen Titans, died, he withdrew and no longer wanted to be a hero. Back then, he couldn't have known what the war-ravaged future held for him. He didn't know that Terry would travel back in time to try to undo that war. When Terry arrived in the past, he found love and happiness. Sadly, he also found death. When Terry died, Tim Drake took up the mantle of Batman of the future. He thought he could defeat Brother Eye, but we already know how that turned out. Now here we are in the future, reunited once again. There's no need to worry. Soon, he will join Brother Eye and become part of its comrades, the Justice League. Since his arrival, he has been asking about all of them. It won't be long before he can join them. Brother Eye wants his secrets. Everything, including the location of Gotham City. Barbara tries to help, but her efforts are in vain, and she's struck down. Tim knows he can't allow Brother Eye to discover the city's location. He now asks Alfred to wake up and give him a strong shock. By doing so, Tim manages to free himself and seizes the opportunity to attack Inc. Brother Eye orders Inc. to take Batman again for further analysis. Inc. captures the Batman of the future and takes him outside. Defeating her will seem impossible. Outside, Tim finds a room full of cyborgs that were once human. They've all been turned into Brother Eye's army. His suit is still not functioning well. Inc. knows that Tim's technology is useless against Brother Eye. While they fight, Brother Eye orders Barbara Gordon to be processed. She tells him she'd rather die. Brother Eye responds that death will come soon. In fact, everything is about to reach the conclusion Brother Eye seeks. Meanwhile, on the moon, Deanna, Inc.'s daughter, takes advantage of a distraction to escape her room. Once free, she contacts her mother to tell her that Brother Eye has her imprisoned on the moon. She begs her mother to do something to rescue her. Tim, overhearing this conversation, realizes why Inc. works for Brother Eye. While she may not have the means to travel to the moon, Batman does. All she has to do is help him destroy this place, and in return, he'll bring her daughter back. It's time to work together. Now that Tim is undistracted, he arrives just in time to prevent Barbara from being assimilated. Brother Eye confronts Batman, stating that it controls most of the world. Why does he think he'll be any different? Batman easily defeats the cyborg. They've bested him once before. He won't let it happen again. Inc. returns to Batman, having dealt with several cyborgs herself. This place is about to explode. They need to evacuate immediately. There's no need to worry about her. She's a survivor. Tim grabs Max and Barbara and flies them out of the facility. Later in Gotham City, Matt couldn't believe Tim Drake was capable of bringing his sister back. He's truly impressed. But things aren't over yet. Alarms begin blaring. When Brother Eye took them prisoner, it used the opportunity to inject a virus into Tim's suit. Batman has unwittingly given Brother Eye what it wanted: access to Neo-Gotham. A new figure arrives. It seems like there's a serious problem at hand. Tim asks if this is Ray Palmer. Does he look like Palmer? He prefers to go by Micron. Things are about to get worse. Brother Eye will send its best cyborg army. The Justice League won't be far behind. Superman is still recovering from the battle, but the information reaches him. Coordinates are being set for Gotham. Tim can't believe Brother Eye used him. Thanks to him, Gotham will die today. The invasion begins. Micron asks how this is even possible. The city's veil was supposed to protect them. Tim admits it's his fault. Brother Eye captured him and infiltrated his suit. Micron realizes Tim isn't Terry. Barbara explains that Terry is dead, and Tim is his replacement. Regardless, Micron is the first to engage the enemy. Batman mistook him for Adam, but Micron proves he's much more. After all this time, Brother Eye can finally assimilate Gotham City. The cyborgs have arrived. Tim is determined to destroy as many as he can. The cyborgs' targeting systems are incredible, making it hard to dodge all their attacks. Alfred can't do much to help. Brother Eye is suppressing him. Batman is taken down and captured by a cyborg. Brother Eye wants to assimilate him. It's something it craves, but given the situation, it'll have to do it through its cyborg. Before it can, Micron arrives just in time to save Tim. There's no doubt this isn't Adam. Batman assumed Brother Eye already had the entire Justice League. Micron starts to speak, but is struck from behind. More cyborgs arrive, and Brother Eye seizes the opportunity to assimilate as many citizens as possible. Now, it's many against Batman and Micron. Every fight, every conflict, every battle reaches a point when you know it's over. You know the moment when you lose. That's what Tim Drake once thought, until Bruce Wayne taught him otherwise. Tim does everything he can to defend himself. A new figure arrives, taking down cyborgs with a single strike. Barbara is piloting the Batwing and urges Batman to get in. Tim refuses. He's not done yet. Barbara warns him he won't help anyone if he's dead. They need something to stand against Brother Eye. If they keep this up, they won't last much longer. Barbara's plan is to take him to the one place where they can find the weapon they need. Later, they arrive at the Batcave. Tim doesn't think they'll find help here. He believes they're wasting time. Barbara points him toward a vault in front of him. What does he think of this armor for fighting Brother Eye? Outside, things are spiraling out of control. Superman has entered the battlefield. Matt wants to help, but Nora insists it's impossible. If Brother Eye has the Justice League on its side, they can't do anything. Back in the cave, Tim asks Barbara if she's joking. The armor is ancient. It probably won't even turn on. Barbara insists it's all they've got. The armor was highly effective in its time. The only thing she can do now is recharge its batteries. The rocket launchers, sonic cannons, and flamethrowers still seem to work. Jim Gordon used this suit in the past when Batman lost his memory. How powerful could it still be after 30 years? Powers Industries gave it the muscle to take down a squadron of tanks. Bruce Wayne improved it in later years. Brother, I won't be able to control its operating system. It's been deactivated to prevent external communication. Even if Brother Eye infiltrates, the old technology will reject it. It's time to suit up. Everything is ready and calibrated for its new user. With its camouflage tech, it'll show Brother Eye who it's dealing with. One of Batman's opponents will be Superman. Barbara advises him that the weapons need to cause some damage. Batman prepares for battle, tactically aware that speed is essential. The first Justice League member to fall is Green Lantern John Stewart. Batman regrets this. John was a good man, but the Green Lantern part of him died long ago. John recovers and forms a rocket launcher. If John wants rockets, then Batman will give him a rocket fight. It's impressive how things change. Gotham, once on the list of the least desirable places to live, is now the best Earth has to offer. Gotham defends itself with everything it has, police and armed forces as expected, but they are not alone. Civilians of all kinds do everything they can. After all, it's their home too. This new suit is slower and less comfortable than the previous one, but it's doing its job, equipped with rocket launchers and flamethrowers. Tim Drake has a plan and needs Brother Eye to send his army to execute it. Superman and Wonder Woman arrive on the scene. Brother Eye has been hunting them. Tim admires their ingenuity, but knows the moment of extermination has come. Despite expecting reinforcements, Superman and Wonder Woman are too much to handle simultaneously. There's no way to reach the rendezvous point. Micron is near the battlefield. Finally, Brother Eye deploys its greatest weapon, something Batman can exploit. Micron shrinks and destroys it from within. A dirty job, but effective. Brother Eye prepares to attack Batman. The armor will be his coffin. The target has been detected. Yet, they fail to inflict any real damage. Micron returns to his normal size and takes down Wonder Woman. This gives Batman a chance to escape. But before leaving, he must take down Superman. To achieve this, he needs to abandon the suit. The Batcave is full of secrets, like a kryptonite ring Bruce Wayne kept for such a scenario. Using it, Tim strikes Superman, knowing everyone has weaknesses, even the Man of Steel. To defeat him, Tim forces Superman to swallow kryptonite and returns to the armor. Micron increases his size and delivers the final blow to Superman. Batman withdraws, aware that Brother Eye is watching. He can feel its presence, but has no idea of its plans. Later, he meets with Barbara. Bruce Wayne always had a backup plan. This building, registered under Wayne State, has been vacant for years. How did Brother Eye miss this? What is Tim looking for here? This place was maintained by the Court of Owls, always watching. All signs point to a weapon to defeat Brother Eye hidden here. It's their only chance, since Bruce's old gadgets are no match for Brother Eye anymore. Meanwhile, Brother Eye sits atop a tower, puzzled. Tim Drake has traveled to a Court of Owls building. Deanna notes that fear arises when one doesn't understand another's actions. Brother Eye dismisses fear as an unknown condition. What could Batman's enemies have that he wants? Fortunately, answers are near. Tim Drake faces unexpected delays. He should already be confronting Brother Eye. Instead, an army of androids reaches him faster than anticipated. His regular suit is destroyed. and he hopes this old-school armor holds until reinforcements arrive. He activates maximum firepower, praying help comes soon. Ink joined Batman Beyond, driven by the promise to save her daughter. Now, she demands he act quickly. Batman insists they need more time to activate the device. Micron assures them he'll ensure Barbara succeeds. Batman reluctantly agrees. Micron's sacrifice feels unavoidable. Meanwhile, Brother Eye investigates Wayne's records regarding the building. Purchased but left unused, it shows no signs of weapons or offensive capabilities. Yet the fact they are here means something must be inside. Tim reaches Barbara and asks if everything is ready. She confirms, revealing Bruce secretly placed a Justice League transporter in the old enemy headquarters, keeping it off records to avoid detection. The transporter is intact and fully functional. A minor oversight when Brother Eye pushed the League's satellite to the moon, turning it into its main stronghold. Tim departs, promising Barbara he'll return. She wishes him luck. Tim Drake infiltrates the League's satellite, now Brother Eye's domain. Likely overconfident, Brother Eye transformed Earth's shield into an attack weapon. Alarms blare. Intruder alert. The transport room has been breached. Brother Eye knows Batman is here and admits surprise at his access to a transporter, believing them all destroyed. Welcoming him, Brother Eye notes that humor is wasted on it. Tim responds, flowers are always fitting for a funeral. Brother Eye recognizes Tim's growth, acknowledging his maturity and preparation. Similarly, it has adapted, surpassing its satellite limitations. Now, Brother Eye can walk among humans, experience their fear, and touch the world. Tim did not expect a physical confrontation with Brother Eye, who evolved beyond its AI existence. Despite the danger, a hand-to-hand fight is oddly satisfying. After a tough hit, Tim taunts, comparing Brother Eye to Pinocchio, noting the disadvantages of having a body. Deanna questions Tim's sanity, but he remains focused. The League built the satellite to withstand Darkseid, yet Brother Eye claims to be worse. Time runs short, and Tim assumes Barbara cannot hold out much longer. He uses sonic waves to confuse and destabilize Brother Eye. The attack buys time for another move. Brother Eye declares its systems cannot be disabled, but Tim seizes the moment. After a powerful head strike, Tim questions Brother Eye's motives for creating a technological utopia for cybernetic monsters. Tim vows to prevent it, launching missiles. Brother Eye falls, but warns the fight is far from over. Decades ago, Batman invaded its satellite form and thought he had won. Brother Eye survived, evolved, and prepared for this moment. Tim instructs Deanna to get to the cabin. Brother Eye counters, noting Tim's depleted resources. It plans to convert him into an acolyte. Tim retorts, revealing a final surprise attack. A small explosion ensues. Brother Eye, stimulated by the physical confrontation, contemplates crushing its opponent's skull. Tim realizes the need for a new strategy. The situation shifts when Ink intervenes, covering Brother Eye. She tells Tim to take Deanna to the transporter, ensuring her safety. Ink plans to destroy Brother Eye from within, a necessary sacrifice. On Earth, civilians watch as cyborgs collapse. Could this mean victory? The satellite crumbles, and Tim rushes to save Ink's daughter. Before leaving, Deanna learns her mother's actions were out of love. Brother Eye explodes. Deanna asks if her mother can recover or reunite, but Tim insists they must leave. Barbara observes reports of deactivated androids. The threat is over. Tim returns via the transporter. Barbara congratulates him on the victory, but Tim mourns, not all of us made it. Deanna blames him for her mother's death. Tim apologizes. Barbara confirms it's over. Whatever he did to Brother, I stopped the androids. He is welcome home, but for Tim, this doesn't feel like home. He doubts he can accept it. Barbara reassures him, this is your home now. Give the future time. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm TJ Prime, and see you in the next video.